The demon lord is reborn, his demonic nature unchanged. In his past life, he was known as the ghostly spear. Standing on the battlefield, no one dared to look him in the eye. Thanks to his time as a death row soldier, he had studied heretical arts. The demonic energy on his body could solidify into tangible form. His enemies, if he called their name 3 times, would have their souls sucked out. Because of this, the entire orthodox martial world of the Central Plains grew fearful. They plotted to besiege him, determined to eliminate the leader of this demonic cult. But what they didn't know was that his own master called him a demon. They thought they could take advantage of his injuries, right after he had struck down his own master. Along with over 10,000 elite martial arts masters, they believed they could easily destroy him. But in the end, they were all annihilated by him alone. Though victorious, his wounds were overwhelming, and his body could not endure. Yet he had not a single regret about his decision to embrace the demonic path. That should have been the end for a feared archdemon. But the heavens granted him another chance at life. And so in this dog-eat-dog world, just a few minutes after his rebirth, he immediately bagged himself a big prize. I am the frontline leader of the demonic cult Suji. I have no family name. That single word is my name, and it's the only thing I own. But no one ever called me by that name. When I was young, they called me Trash. As I got older, that name changed to Weed then, bastard. When I became a man, they started calling me the Venomous Spear and the Demonic Cultist. I climbed to the very top, defeating them all. I was even granted a glorious title, Spear King. The clothes I wore were nothing but torn rags. Each day I had only a small portion of potatoes. But it was enough, and the only place I could call home was the battlefield. After Suji's cold strike, the blade was soaked in fresh blood. He slowly walked toward the enemy ranks ahead, majestically. His presence struck fear into them, causing a commotion. A monster, no. That's a real demon. He's the rumored Spear King. He's coming this way. Seeing his troops begin to lose heart, the leader roared. There's only one enemy. Don't be afraid. If we kill him, we win. Charge after his command. They seemed to gain strength and rushed forward. Sharp spears, all aimed at a single target, thrust forward. But Suji nimbly leaped into the air. The leader's eyes widened in shock. What? And then in the blink of an eye, Suji's sharp spear plunged down from above. It pierced straight through his head. Witnessing this, the soldiers were filled with rage. They charged forward in unison, screaming, "You bastard, die!" But their efforts were all in vain. He dodged every single one of their attacks. Suji wondered to himself, is this an innate instinct, or something I was trained to do? Either way, I've taken so many lives with just a single spear in my hand. Even though I was the last one standing, in the end, the resentment and rage of the dead, Suji, the one who was once called Trash, died on the battlefield. Yes, that should have been my end, but was it a mistake of fate, or was it my destiny? The one who should have rotted in the dirt was reborn, and so the trash that everyone once scorned has returned to the past. In a certain forest, a thunderous scream echoed through the air. It was followed by a sharp gasp. Suji looked down at his hands, then muttered in confusion, So I wasn't reborn as a baby. Looking to his side, he found a relatively new mirror. Suji moved closer and looked at his reflection. Staring intently at the youthful face reflected back at him, he concluded, Looks like I have been reborn as a teenager. If that's the case, then this must be a time when I was still an errand boy for the escort agency. As soon as he finished the thought, a curse rang in Suji's ear. Damn bastards, die, protect the goods at all costs. Don't let a single item be lost. They cursed as they fought in the chaos. Scanning the scene, Suji silently assessed Mountain Bandits, the Roaring Tiger escort agency. To think that right after being reborn, I'd set foot on a battlefield again. Lost in thought, Suji didn't notice a figure appearing behind him. The man smashed the mirror while looking at him. He asked coldly, "What's a kid like you doing here? I don't think you're an escort. An errand boy, huh?" A sharp glint appeared in Suji's eyes. He thought to himself, Mountain Bandits. They're just thugs who live in the forest, specializing in ambushes, robbery, and murder. But his eyes are trembling, his body is stiff. Most of them are just pathetic amateurs. Seeing him just staring back, without any intention of speaking, the man gritted his teeth and roared. "It doesn't matter if you're an errand boy or an escort. You're with the escort agency, so you have to die. All of you must die." As he finished, the spear in his hand swung, aiming straight for Suji's head. But with just one hand, he was able to block it. Suji said with contempt, "I knew it. Your moves are too predictable." His hand gripping the spear shaft tightened. Suji snatched the spear away. He moved forward with swift agility and pierced through the man's body. Everything happened too fast. The man stuttered in shock. "This guy? Are you kidding me?" Blood poured from his mouth after he spoke. A dark energy erupted around Suji. He smirked arrogantly. "Even if I have no achievements to my name right now, I still have my martial skills, and that's enough." Suji could clearly feel a surge of excitement building up inside his body. Suji told himself. Even though everyone despises the martial arts I use, even calling them demonic arts, I have no other choice now. I've returned to the past, but thin rope was thrown out, hooking the shaft of the spear in his hand. Immediately, a loud roar came from behind. The man leaped out from the trees, shouting, "Die, you scum!" with one hand swinging a spear. His other hand shot an arrow straight at Suji's face, and it successfully hit him. Witnessing this, the man laughed maniacally. "Serves you right. Now I'm gonna live." Before the man could celebrate for another second, Suji lifted the spear, still embedded in this first man's body, and charged at him. "What?" The man was stunned. Suji's cold face drew closer. His voice was low and menacing. "I expected an ambush, but is this all you've got? Not confirming the enemy is dead on the battlefield is suicide." As he finished speaking, the spear pierced straight through the man's heart, causing him to scream in agony. Suji's hand tightened on the spear, pushing it a little deeper. The other two guys, still not quite dead, were hoisted up body and spear onto his shoulder. Now the spear has its original weight back. Roaring Tiger Escort Agency. This feeling is exactly like the old days. Blood from the two men's corpses dripped continuously onto the ground, with every step he took. The nearby mountain bandits could only stare their eyes wide with shock. They stuttered. "What the hell is going on with that guy? Look at him." A booming voice echoed from among the bandits. "What's happening? Who is this madman? Listen up. I am the leader of the bandits on this mountain." His body was muscular, towering like a giant statue. But Suji showed no signs of caution. In fact, he even smirked provocatively. "Ho ho, I'm looking forward to this." Hearing this, the leader became extremely excited. He roared, "I'll wipe that smile off your face. Die." As he finished, he swung his arm, throwing the axe in his hand towards him. Suji tilted his head and dodged. The leader gritted his teeth in anger. "You dodge like a rat." And then suddenly his eyes shot wide open. He saw the two corpses moving towards him. From behind them, a cold voice echoed. "Your physical strength is truly impressive. But is that all?" While his attention was still focused on the two corpses, Suji brought his blade down in a single swift strike. The leader's body was instantly split in two. Fresh blood sprayed everywhere. Suji laughed coldly. "Let me show you what a real attack looks like." The surrounding mountain bandits, every last one of them, were so scared their limbs went limp. They stuttered amongst themselves. "Just one hit. He's a monster. Hey, don't push me." He raised the spear in his hand. Suji frowned. Why does it feel so light all of a sudden? Then he moved forward and thrust the spear into the dead leader's throat. He coughed once, then died. The mountain bandits were sweating bullets in fear. To make matters worse, they then heard him say, "Now that's better." The number of corpses impaled on his spear had increased to 3. They couldn't stand there and wait to die for another second. The mountain bandits scattered, screaming as they ran, "Run! He's a monster." And that's when Suji realized something. So that's it. When blood and demons meet on the battlefield, the Dango bandits. Time rewinds 15 years earlier, and on that very mountain, the demonic cult has returned. Thinking this, a bright smile bloomed on Suji's lips. "This is great." Night fell. The Roaring Tiger Escort Agency descended upon the bandits. The leader shouted loudly, "Don't let any of them escape." The surrounding scene was beyond horrific. Suji, with a spear impaling 3 corpses, walked leisurely. At his feet were countless severed body parts. Suji sighed clearly, hearing the screams in his ear. "The tide is turning in our favor. We can't let those bandits survive." A large body flew past Suji's back. The leader of the Roaring Tiger Escort Agency shouted in shock, "What?" In front of Suji, a group of tall, muscular men appeared. The man took down every member of the Roaring Tiger Escort Agency, gritting his teeth and cursing. "You arrogant bounty hunters. Who do you think you're killing, huh?" Seeing him, the spirits behind Suji weakly begged for help. Of course he couldn't hear them. He continued his frenzied charge forward. "If you think you can then give it a shot." Suji stood silently watching the slaughter. The spirit next to him croaked, "That's him, Ego. He was our old boss. Boss, please come back to our side." A smirk formed on Suji's lips. "So that's it. That guy is your leader, huh? He's certainly a cut above the rest of those small fry." The spirit immediately affirmed. "The boss is very strong. Recruit him too." He nodded in agreement. "All right, I'll grant your wish. He will be devoured as well." Meanwhile, Ego was like a ferocious beast. He growled, then slaughtered everyone who appeared before him. "Die." Just then a quiet voice called his name. "Ego." He whirled around and shouted, "Who the hell do you think you are calling my name like that?" Suji charged forward like a gust of wind, bringing his weapon down. But with his quick reflexes, Ego managed to block the strike. Even so, his body was sent flying and crashed to the ground. Ego cursed, "Damn it, who the hell are you?" he said as he looked up at him. Witnessing the sight of the men impaled on the spear and the red demons appearing behind him, Ego screamed in terror. What the hell? Who is this madman?" He's got a guy hanging from his spear. His face twisted in fear. The demons opened their mouths in a grotesque smile, whispering coldly, "Why are you the only one left alive, Ego?" Ego was so scared that tears streamed down his face. He shrieked in horror, Who are you, a demon?" Suji's eyes gleamed in the darkness. Demonic energy radiated from him endlessly. Suji said, "Let's go together, Ego." His desperate pleas for help rang out once more. "Please save me." Suji effortlessly lopped off Ego's head. Fresh blood transformed into dark, demonic energy, swirling around his body. Suji's voice, clear and sharp, echoed in the silent space. "Just call their name 3 times, and you can send a soul to the underworld. Within those 3 calls, the target will be dragged into the realm of death." It's been a while since I've used this. Back to a time before. That night the moon was high, making the scene among the jagged mountains more gloomy than ever. Suddenly, blood-soaked hand reached up from the chasm, grabbing onto the ledge. He gasped, gritting his teeth, "Take this!" His fingernails scraped against the ground until they bled, but he didn't care. He kept trying to drag his battered body up from the abyss. He cursed under his breath, "Damn it. Just because I'm a rookie, they push all the tough scouting missions onto me." A moment later, he finally managed to climb up. Leaning his back against a large rock, he panted while talking to himself. "This damn army. They said if I joined, I wouldn't starve anymore. But this situation is no different from when I was a slave." Suddenly, his pupils contracted as he detected a demonic aura. Following the pitch-black figure with blood-red eyes, in the distance he wondered, what is that? There's something over there. A tiger or a ghost? No. Whatever it is, I absolutely must not turn back. That's something I shouldn't have seen. I'm not going to die for nothing in a place like this. Don't turn back. Don't turn back. Just as he was about to run, the man in the darkness spoke with sudden irony. "And what do you think you're trying to survive for? Your life is no different from an insect's, so why not take a risk? Perhaps this is your chance to change that pitiful fate of yours." He paused for a moment, then slowly turned his head to look back. He asked coldly, "And why should I believe words like that?" The man chuckled. "You've got guts. What's your name?" He replied, "Suji." Hearing the name from his mouth, the man's face grew several shades colder. He asked again, "What did you just say?" Suji grew impatient and snapped, "I said it's Suji." The man's eyes lit up. This time his voice dropped a little lower. "I'll ask one more time. What is your name?" He shouted, "I said it's—" Before he could finish his sentence, a hand shot out and grabbed his neck. The man moved so fast he couldn't react. He could only endure the pain. Suji bit his lip so hard it bled. He tensed his body and thought, in just a single breath, he crossed that entire distance. I didn't even see him move. This man is— The man's voice suddenly echoed, full of demonic charm. "If you want to kill someone, ask their name 3 times. No matter the answer, you can still kill anyone you wish. Suji, you have granted me the power of a demon. My master, the embodiment of evil in the martial world, the blood demon Guofu." Back to the present. With his sharp spear, Suji slaughtered an entire group of people before they could even react. The spray of fresh blood did nothing to change the expression on his face. Suji wondered, how strange. The mountain bandits, seeing their allies killed, immediately grabbed their weapons and charged. "Die, you monster!" Suji let out a soft breath. A puff of white smoke curled from his lips. In Suji's mind right now there was only one thought. Strangely, my mind is clearer than ever. The demonic power that Guofu passed on to me was originally incomplete. The seed of demonic energy had taken root in my dantian. It was supposed to seep into my bones and cloud my reason, but now I feel refreshed. What has changed? Suji closed his eyes. He centered himself and felt the dark power begin to envelop his abdomen head and then spread to his limbs. After unlocking that power, Suji's eyes shot open. That's right, the difference. Compared to the last time I received this power, I forgot about it when I joined the army. But when I was a kid, I learned the breathing techniques of the Miao tribe. Looking down at his hand, which was continuously emitting a dark aura, Suji seemed to realize something. So that's it. That's how I'm able to maintain my consciousness and keep my mind clear. What a strange coincidence. Guofu's words echoed in his mind. Until you have completely mastered this power, you will not be able to maintain your sanity. Suji smiled faintly. If Guofu knew about this, I wonder what kind of face he would make. Suddenly a voice called out, "Suji." He lazily glanced behind him. The people from the Roaring Tiger Escort Agency, every one of them bowed their heads in respectful gratitude. "Thank you for saving us from a dangerous situation." The woman leading the Roaring Tiger Escort Agency glanced at him. At the same time, she thought to herself, I knew it. Just by standing there, the pressure he gives off is terrifying. He cut down every single one of those bandits by himself. I absolutely cannot let him leave. The killing intent from Suji's body still radiated endlessly. He asked back, "What is it?" The woman answered cautiously, I don't understand why someone like you is working as an assistant for our escort agency. But if it's not too much to ask, could you please continue to help us? Suji crossed his arms and said bluntly, I refuse. Hearing this, her eyes widened in shock. What? He shrugged. If you don't have anything else, I'm leaving. With that, Suji turned to leave. Seeing him actually leave, the woman grew even more panicked. No, I can't let him leave like this. If he won't join, then I'll have to. She pulled a golden token from her clothes and offered it to him. She said, please take this with you. You may already know, but the Tiger Claw sect is behind this escort mission. It's a reputable sect in Anhui. If you bring this token to the Tiger Claw sect, you will be welcomed as an honored guest. Please accept it as a token of my sincere gratitude. On the golden token were the words, Tiger Claw Sect First Class Escort. Suji's gaze flickered for a moment. He thought to himself, the Tiger Claw Sect, famous for their integrity and righteousness. But just a few years from now, they vanish without a trace, a tragic sect. In the end, Suji decided to take the token. Seeing this, she immediately said happily, thank you so much. Then she bowed her head respectfully. We will return to our escort duties. When the job is done, we will come back to greet you again. Please make yourself at home in the meantime. Suji gave a cold nod. He walked over to a nearby horse and said, understood. By the way, I'm borrowing a horse. She gasped and said loudly, not that one. Its temperament is too wild. So we were planning to use it to pull the cargo instead. Her voice trailed off in amazement. A disciple next to her was also stunned. But somehow it's completely obedient now. Then it was her turn to be shocked. Hey, did that horse just pee its pants? She sighed. And at that age, he even has horse riding skills. The one-eyed man smiled sarcastically. What a monster, oh my. Could this be love at first sight? He's exactly your type, isn't he? A strong and handsome guy. Hearing that, she whirled around. She drew her gleaming sword and warned him coldly, don't speak ill of the person who saved our lives. Are you looking to die? He immediately shook his head. No, I was just kidding, I'm sorry. She snorted coldly and sheathed her sword. You all couldn't see it, but I saw his spear technique. At this point, she fell silent, her gaze shifting to the corpses lying scattered on the other side. Everyone understood implicitly. The one-eyed man ventured a question. Could he be from a noble martial family that specializes in spears? She shook her head. No, that's not a martial art, it's military spear technique. And with a level of skill and understanding far beyond his years. He frowned. Wait, don't tell me you're saying... She cut him off. That's right, it's highly likely that he is the son of a powerful military clan. He's on a warrior's journey. After completing his training, and with that character of his, the way he risked his life to save us. If he knew about the danger our sect is in, he definitely wouldn't ignore it. With that, she bowed her head slightly. So please save the Tiger Claw sect from the clutches of the Dark Path sect. Please protect us. On the other side, Suji grumbled at the horse. If you piss yourself again, I'll cut it off so you can't piss anymore. The horse seemed to understand, immediately tensing up and holding it in. It continued forward. Suji muttered, speaking of the Tiger Claw sect, I guess it still exists now. Right. I wonder how he's doing. That guy Gao Aiju. He recalled memories from before his rebirth. Gao Aiju, the first person I met after joining the military. The first person I truly connected with in my past life. Back then at the barracks, a crowd of soldiers had gathered cheering endlessly. One of them kicked Suji hard. He shouted, Hey you think a rookie like you can eat? Without paying tribute, Suji brushed the dust off his clothes. His gaze was cold and hard as he asked, tribute. This is the first I'm hearing of it. The burly soldier cracked his knuckles and smirked. Rookies have to give up their food for their seniors. That's the rule. Unless you want a beating, you'd better remember that. The crowd behind him roared with laughter. Just then, cold snort came from behind Suji. The person walked up, tossing something in his hand, and said with a contemptuous voice, what a stupid rule. And if he just arrived, then the newest one. Would be. So you're not planning on taking my food? Gao Aiju smirked provocatively. The burly soldier provoked, charged forward, shouting, Ah! You've got some nerve, huh? Well then let me smash that ugly face of yours. Suddenly a potato flew and hit him in the face. The burly soldier was stunned. A potato? Gao Aiju with a blank expression charged forward. Take it and eat up. If you still have teeth, that is. As he finished speaking, Gao Aiju swung his fist, punching the man repeatedly in the face. The other guy was hit so hard he fell backward, letting out a few yelps. He picked up another potato. He said coldly, Looks like you haven't had enough potatoes. If you want more, step up. I'll knock out every last tooth in your mouth. At this point, Suji clicked his tongue and spoke up. Let's go, you shouldn't have interfered. Gao Aiju took a bite of his potato and threw one to him. If you want to live, just eat. Suji said to himself, that was the first time we met. My only comrade, no my sworn brother. Gao Aiju introduced himself while munching on a potato. You heard them earlier, right? I'm your direct senior. I'm Gao Aiju. What is your name? He replied softly, My name is Suji. The memory continued. Then one day, when they were both struggling to survive, Gao Aiju shouted in shock, Suji! Ahead, a blood demon named Guofu appeared. Seeing Guofu lift Suji up by the throat, Gao Aiju snarled, Let him go or I'll fire the signal flare. Even while being choked, Suji managed to say, No, run. Gao Aiju clutched the signal flare in his hand. I said let him go. Guofu's eyes flashed menacingly. His voice was deep. Fine, as you wish, I'll let him go. As he finished, Guofu threw Suji straight off the cliff, to his utter shock. What? Gao Aiju screamed, Suji! The man smirked with delight. His tone was full of provocation. What's the matter? I gave you what you wanted. Not satisfied. Rage flared up inside Gao Aiju. He roared, You bastard! Just as the flare was about to hit the ground, Suji's voice rang out, Stop! Go! Aiku, startled, stopped and looked toward the voice. Just then, Suji, after being thrown off the cliff, had managed to grab onto a ledge. He shouted, I'm okay. Don't worry about me, just run. Kokofu's eyes turned cold. I wasn't planning on killing you right away. So shut up and listen. I have a proposal for you two. If you bring me a certain medicinal herb, one that can heal internal injuries, in return I will grant you the power to survive. What is your answer? Suji and Go Aiku glanced at each other. They both had the same thought. It's not like we have any other choice anyway. Then they spoke in unison. We accept your offer. Suji once again climbed up to where Kokofu was standing. He snorted coldly and began to speak in a low voice. You've got some fire in your eyes. There are beings known as insatiable demons. They are the souls of humans who were eaten by tigers and fell into demonic decay. Of the demon. They are rotten souls that become minions, offering up other souls to elevate their master's spiritual realm. Demonic techniques are based on a similar principle. They absorb the grievances of the dead to increase their spiritual cultivation. That technique is called the art of insatiability. This demonic magic has 3 stages. The compression stage, the refinement stage, and the transcendent stage. Each stage consists of 10 levels. Upon reaching the compression stage, one can release demonic energy like steam. In the refinement stage, your blood will turn into a deadly poison. When the demonic energy is released, it looks like blood is splattering everywhere. The next step is to reach the transcendent stage. I once trampled the world climbing to the 4th level of the refinement stage, and by that point good and evil, even demons no longer meant anything to me. Therefore engrave my teachings into your hearts. Go to the battlefield and slaughter without end. That is how you will gain the power to change your destiny. In the battle, fighting life and death shoulder to shoulder, the two glanced at each other. Their eyes shining with determination, they shouted in unison. Suji Aiku, we will survive no matter what. Later at Kokofu's hideout cave, Suji and Go Aiku knelt on the ground listening to him speak. This is the final deal. This time you must retrieve the 100-year-old white ginseng. Can you do it? Suji replied, of course. But before he could finish his sentence, Go Aiku interrupted. Wait, 100-year-old white ginseng is beyond our current abilities. Before that, could you help us open our 2 Ren and Du meridians? Kokofu's eyes narrowed, but he still let the boy continue. If you use the medicinal ingredients you currently have to open those 2 meridians, we will be able to get the final ingredient ourselves. The missing herbs we will replenish later. After hearing this, Kokofu thought silently for a moment. Then he said, very well. Suji and Go Aiku looked at each other in surprise. He said, Suji, you go first. He of course disagreed. No way. Go Aiku frowned and snapped, listen to me. You go first and open your meridians. Then I will go gather more herbs. Then I'll open mine. And after that you will go get the ingredients. Going second is always harder. Knowing he couldn't argue with Go Aiku, Suji sighed in compromise. All right, whatever, I get it. The two high-fived on it. But later, on a day of torrential rain, Suji, covered in injuries, returned to Kokofu's hideout. His body was pierced with arrows. Everywhere he went, blood stained the ground as he panted. Suji thought, this is good. I've gathered all the herbs, brother. Master, everything will be all right. Everything should have been all right. But when he looked inside, the sight that met his eyes was like a bolt from the blue. Inside. Kokofu's severed head was placed neatly there. Seeing Suji, Go Aiku, who was sitting next to the body, gave a faint smile. You finally showed up. Suji's eyes widened in shock. He immediately ignored everything else and ran towards him. He cried out in anguish, Aiku, what is this? What happened? Held in Suji's arms. Go, Aiku scolded him softly. Don't make such a fuss. You already knew, didn't you? Kokofu never intended to let us live from the beginning, so we had to strike before we were killed. That's all. Suji frowned. You mean that's why you made me go first? He thought to himself, all of his acupoints have been destroyed. His demonic energy is completely gone too. He planned to take him down with him from the start. A tear fell down Go-Aiku's face. Seeing Suji's endless tears, he gave a bittersweet, reassuring smile. Hey, don't cry. Killing a half-dead old man is nothing. After a moment of silence, Go-Aiku asked softly, Hey, Suji, do you know why I let you live? Suji shook his head slightly. How would I know? He replied. Because you were once a warrior of the Tiger Supervisory Bureau. I am the last surviving member of the Tiger's Lair sect, which was destroyed. You once said you were a warrior for the Tiger Supervisory Bureau. For a while. Right, and you once said that the master and madam of the Tiger's Lair sect were good people. I think it was from that moment that I started to see you as family. You're the only one who ever spoke of my parents with such respect. I'm truly glad I met you. If you get the chance, please, avenge me. In his final moments, go! Aiku still tried to lift his hand, bumping it against Suji's before closing his eyes in peace. Back in the present, Suji unconsciously tightened his grip on the reins. His heart was set with firm resolve. In this life, I will make sure that hatred never has a chance to exist. From the very beginning, the first thing I have to do is prevent the downfall of the Tiger's Lair sect. Before I save the Tiger Supervisory Bureau, their financial source, so perhaps the timeline has already begun to change. But that's still not enough. He glanced up at the large sign. Suji muttered, Is this the place? Seeing someone passing by, he jumped off his horse and called out, Hey! The man stopped dead in his tracks, looking at him with a flushed face. Huh. What is it? Suji said calmly. I just want to ask something. As soon as he finished, he took a solid punch to the head. The man yelled, Don't mess with me, you punk! Who do you think you're talking to, huh? What, some nameless brat just shows up out of nowhere, huh? Before he could finish his sentence, Suji reached out and grabbed his head. He warned coldly, Shut your mouth and answer my question. Of course, the man was still stubborn and didn't listen. So Suji gave him a good thrashing. Finally, he knelt on the ground in fear, telling him everything he knew. He asked coldly, It's been a while since I've been back to Anhui. That small estate over there is the Tiger's Lair sect, right? The man nodded fearfully. Yes, that's right. Suji crossed his arms. The master is Go-Jian and the madam is Sayeon. Correct, he continued to answer honestly. Yes, exactly. He asked again. So their son is Go-Aiku, isn't he? The man shook his head violently. No, that's not right. Suji was stunned. Oh, I see. You're saying their child is not Go-Aiku. The man whispered, That's right. But Suji rubbed his chin, his face wrinkled in thought. Don't tell me that turning back time actually changed the reality I once knew. No way. I've checked everything else. It all matches my previous life. So what's this about? With that thought, he lifted the unlucky man by his collar again. He yelled, You'd better tell me the truth. If I go to the Tiger's Lair sect and actually find someone named Go-Aiku there, then what? In that case, his killing intent radiated, making the man cut in fearfully. Of course there is. His contradictory answer made him deflate. Suji growled, Huh? A moment ago. Didn't you say their child's name isn't Aiku? The man screamed angrily, You just asked. If the master and madam had a son named Aiku, why would you turn a young lady into a man before she even has a chance to get married? The Tiger's Lair sect has no son. There is only one daughter. Miss Go-Aiku is a woman. His answer left Suji completely frozen on the spot. The thought of his brother in elegant, feminine, traditional clothing made Suji's skin crawl. He broke into a cold sweat thinking, This is ridiculous. Aiku is a woman. If I show the gold plaque, I can enter the Tiger's Lair sect to verify. But doing so would affect my future plans. There must be another way. As he was lost in thought, the wooden gate in front of him suddenly flew open. Along with it came a furious roar from a man. Hey, you're the one, you bastard! Now you show your face like nothing happened. This is why you can't give a job to some brat. Wanderer. I told you to clean up the horse manure, and yet you ran away. Where are the other kids, huh? Suji was grabbed by the collar and dragged inside. He crossed his arms, an annoyed look on his face, thinking to himself, A wanderer. Seems like there's some kind of misunderstanding here. But actually, this works out perfectly. Standing tall before a large stable, the man introduced himself loudly. Listen up, I'm Yuseon, the manager of the Tiger's Lair sect stables. Your only job is to shovel manure and feed the horses. Under my authority. It's better than living as a vagrant on the streets, right? I already explained everything 2 days ago. Do you remember? Suji casually replied, I don't know. Yuseon snapped, You don't know. Bad memory is one thing, but talking back to an adult. Is something wrong with this kid's head eating leftovers? Sleeping in the stables? You can't even remember that. We are basically the ones the sect doesn't need. But the master took pity on a little. Orphan like you. So he took you in. So don't just run away because it's hard. Do your job properly. Got it. He no longer heard Useon's words because Suji's attention had shifted to something else. A feeling that something was wrong made him whip his head around. Just then a horse nearly out of control broke through the wooden gate and charged straight outside. Useon clutched his knee in pain and collapsed to the ground. The horse let out a dangerous snort. It rushed forward relentlessly, trampling him with its hooves. Suji stood aside, feeling extremely suspicious. Why did the horse suddenly... Where did it even come from? Suddenly a gleeful laugh came from a distance, followed by a somewhat proud voice. It really is a first-class horse. I spent enough money to buy an entire mansion, and it's still hard to tame. So ferocious. The guard smirked and replied, Young master, it seems one of the stable boys got hurt. Gyotaehan waved his fan, letting out a contemptuous snort. No better than dogs. Throw them. Some scraps and let's go. Seeing his arrival, the stable workers who were helping Useon up frowned and cursed. It's that pervert Gyo from the Gyo estate again. What's he doing here again today? Useon's face turned pale as he cried out in pain. My leg. Suji frowned, thinking to himself. In my past life I heard Aiku say he was the one behind the fall of the Tiger's Lair sect. The smell of manure is too strong. Let's go inside quickly. Gyotaehan slowly approached, saying just being seen by them makes my clothes feel dirty. From the top of the stairs, he was climbing. A steady, deep voice emerged. I heard we had a guest, so I hurried over. I didn't expect it to be young Master Gyo. What brings you here? The person who had just spoken was none other than the master of the Tiger's Lair sect, Gojian. Seeing him, Gyotaehan cupped his fist and bowed. I only have one reason for coming here. Father-in-law, of course. I've come to visit my future fiancé. Gojian frowned coldly. If you're talking about Aiku, I don't recall agreeing to any marriage. Gyotaehan smirked in response. That may be so now, but when Aiku turns 16, I will hold the wedding ceremony. His words made Gojian grind his teeth in anger. Gyotaehan paid no mind to his expression. He continued, the wedding between me and Aiku next year has become the talk of the town. Even the village children are singing congratulatory songs. Gojian slowly interrupted. And I assume the one who spread that rumor was you, just to ruin my daughter's future. Gyotaehan seemed somewhat surprised, letting out an ah. Sect master, are you joking or being serious? Our Gyo family is in no way inferior to the Go family. Do you think we have to struggle that hard just to marry the daughter of the Tiger's Lair sect? Go! Gyeon gritted his teeth and roared. What did you say? You insolent bastard! Just as he was losing his composure, a soft, clear voice came from behind. Then that's good. In that case, there will be no engagement between our two families. Please don't concern yourself with me anymore. Go find someone else. The girl who spoke as she approached was the daughter of the Tiger's Lair sect master. Go Aiku! Gyotaehan's face flushed at her beauty. He tried to fan himself, stammering. But, do you know how dangerous the rumors are? Go, Aiku's face was grim and cold. There's nothing more to say. I have no intention of marrying you, or anyone from the Gyo estate. Please leave. Being rejected made Gyotaehan a bit annoyed. He sneered, putting on such airs. While your family's sect is about to go bankrupt, still as arrogant as ever. The guard beside him asked, what do we do now? Young Master Gyotaehan smirked and replied, Anyway, I was just stopping by on my way to the brothel. So let's go. He turned and put his arm around the guard. But the rumors are true, aren't they? He answered honestly. In fact, she is even more beautiful than the rumors say, Gyotaehan said arrogantly. Now you understand why I'm so obsessed with her, don't you? With that beauty, they say Aiku is a beauty, capable of toppling nations. The guard added, a beauty that could make a city fall, is not even an exaggeration. Spreading his arms to catch the breeze and taking a deep breath at the same time, Gyotaehan clicked his tongue. A beautiful woman without power or money is destined for a tragic fate. She is too beautiful to be the daughter of the Tiger's Lair sect. She must resent her fate for being born in such a place. But it's too late. A villain like me has already set his sights on her. The guard made a sad face. Poor her. Hearing that, Gyotaehan burst out laughing with glee. He quickly mounted his horse and pulled the reins. He shouted, to the brothel! But the horse wouldn't move. Gyotaehan lost his patience, frowning. What's this? Why won't it move? The guard asked worriedly, what's wrong? Is it sick or something? As he looked down to check the horse, the guard's face turned pale. When he realized it was foaming at the mouth. Immediately after, the horse collapsed, throwing Gyotaehan off its back. The guard shouted in panic. Young master, Gyotaehan yelled. Why did the horse suddenly collapse? Where are the stable boys? The two of them didn't notice that behind a horse stall, not far away, Suji was hiding. In his hand, he was still holding a horse's liver. Blood dripped down his wrist. Suji called what he had just done the fox claw technique. The art of the demon fox. He glanced emotionlessly towards Gyo-taehan. He thought to himself, it's useless. I took its liver without a trace. You'll never know why that horse died. But it's all because of him. So Gyo was the real cause of everything. Aiku once said the fall of the Tiger's Lair sect was because of a power struggle with the Gyo estate. But in reality, he was the one pulling the strings from the shadows. Did Aiku know that? Of course she knew. That's why. She considered her own beauty a curse. Tsuji gritted his teeth, crushing the horse liver in his hand. He made a resolution. Now I understand why she burned her own face. No more hesitation to avenge my sworn brother. I will act from now on. Tsuji deftly jumped onto a large tree branch and hid himself within it, observing Gyo-taehan's every move. That night in Naimatsu County, Anhui Province, Tsuji walked quietly in the dark night. Passing by some eateries, he could hear bits and pieces of what the people inside were saying. Dinner's ready. Honey, are you drunk again? Get out of here right now. How dare you talk to your husband like that? His footsteps stopped in front of a house, whose door had 2 diagonal lines drawn on it in ink. The worn-out sign was tilted to one side. Looking up to read the words on the sign, Tsuji muttered, "It's been a long time since I've been back here." He slowly pushed the door open and stepped inside. A man from inside called out, "Who are you?" He replied coldly, "Tsuji." The man who seemed tipsy smacked his lips and said, "That name sounds familiar. Nah, go somewhere else." But Tsuji plopped down in front of him. "I know, just forge me a hammer." Lifting a wine jug for a sip, the man asked nonchalantly, "Huh? Are you serious?" Tsuji stated his requirements. "Make the handle 17 sun long, the hammerhead 4 sun, the head should be spherical. Keep the weight under 10 jin." His words stunned the man. His face turned colder. A low voice rang out. "That kind of hammer can't even drive a nail," Tsuji said firmly. "I'm not using it for nails." Gently setting the wine jug aside, the man asked, "Anything else?" Tsuji rested his chin on his hand and replied, "2 of them 18.5 sun long. Use crocodile skin. And I need a properly forged heavy weapon." He picked up a tool and asked, "Sword, axe, or spear?" Tsuji answered, "Spear." As soon as he finished, the man swung his hand and smashed straight behind him, shattering the boulder. He lightly tapped a spear propped neatly nearby. He said, "This is the best weapon I have. It'll take a day to sharpen the blade." Tsuji nodded. "All right. Do you have any small sharp weapons?" The wooden stick in the man's hand slammed down on the chair Tsuji was sitting on. He answered at the same time, "Of course." The wooden chair shattered, revealing a pile of sharp nails inside. Tsuji looked satisfied. "Iron spikes, huh? Good. I'll take them all." After finalizing the items, the man asked, "Where should I deliver them?" Tsuji replied curtly, "I'll come get them myself." The man's gaze darkened. "You seem pretty bloodthirsty. But this much stuff will cost quite a bit," he said coldly. "Just name your price." At this unconsciously, man fell silent, lowering his head without a word. After a moment, he slowly began to speak. 3 days ago, my daughter died." Tsuji frowned, listening as the man continued. "Is there any way to bring her back?" The man's hand on his shoulder trembled slightly. 2 streams of bright red blood flowed from the man's eyes. He suppressed a sob. "You reek of blood so much I thought you were a ghost. But I guess not. So just kill the ones who killed my little girl for me." Tsuji stood up and asked in a cold voice, "Who killed your daughter?" The man replied, "The Black Blade Sect." He ran a hand through his hair and nodded slightly. "Understood." Just as Tsuji turned to leave, the man suddenly spoke loudly. "There are 4 of them. They're called the Black Blade Sect. Listen carefully, listen up." Killing intent billowed from him. His voice, because of it, became steely. "I don't need to know the enemy's name, because no matter what, I will slaughter them all." Reaching the door, Tsuji suddenly turned back and asked, "Right, do you have work clothes and poison?" The man smirked. "Huh? You think a blacksmith sells that stuff?" His fingers fumbled to the side and picked up a small jar. Next was a set of clothes, looking rather old. He threw the 2 items towards Tsuji. He said loudly, "Here! This bearskin belonged to a bear that killed 74 people. And that jar contains a deadly poison from the Miao tribe. Though I haven't checked if it's real." Tsuji bent down and picked up the small jar, then carefully opened it to inspect. Waving his hand to clear the mischievous green smoke, Tsuji frowned. "You got ripped off." The shop owner gritted his teeth and clicked his tongue. "Tisk! I figured as much," he said flatly. "Anyway, I'll still take it. It's not as poisonous as Miao tribe medicine, but it should be usable. I'll be back tomorrow for my order." Stepping outside, Tsuji noticed beside the house a messy pile of bones, reeking of death. He frowned, wondering, "What's this?" The man answered in a low voice, "I used to use that to process livestock." "What's wrong? Is there a problem?" Tsuji nodded. "Ah," the man echoed, "is that so?" He picked up a piece of bone and said, "Let me borrow this until my order is ready." With that, Tsuji left immediately, leaving the man in the room to bow his head and mutter, "What a strange damn person." Could he really be a ghost? Ghost or not, it doesn't matter. As long as he helps me avenge my daughter, my life isn't worth anything. As he finished the sentence, blood poured relentlessly from his eyes and mouth. The man coughed in pain a few times and then went limp. Later at the main gate of the Black Blade Sect, the sky was pitch black. The guards were extremely vigilant, staring down the deep dark road. In the darkness, they saw a figure slowly approaching. One of them asked quietly, "Who the hell is this, hey kid? We're in an important meeting. You can't pass through here? What are you holding in your hand? It smells horrible, get lost." After speaking for a while without a response, he snapped, "Didn't you hear me?" The words had barely left his mouth when he took a devastating blow from Suji. The fatal blow made him drop dead instantly. The others who witnessed it were stunned and shouted, Who is he? Is that a horse bone in his hand?" Each man only managed to say a few more words before suffering the same fate as the first one, mercilessly struck down by Suji. Watching the men fall one by one, he smirked slightly. Looks like this is useful after all. He looked up at the sign. Suji thought to himself, "The Black Blade Sect, we let more than half of them escape in the last battle, before I turned back time. And then we were counterattacked and suffered considerable losses. But thanks to that, I know exactly how they run. This time I'll kill every last one of them." Suji slowly pushed the gate ajar. He stepped inside and then slaughtered all the guards standing nearby. They lay sprawled on the ground, dropping like flies. Screams echoed across the courtyard, drenched in fresh blood. Wherever Suji stepped, a member of the Black Blade Sect would fall, dying a violent death. His face was cold, his steps strong as he advanced deeper inside. Suddenly, a shout broke the silence. "What's all the noise, Oh, it's just some kid. Are you the one causing all this ruckus? I was sleeping soundly and you ruined it?" The bruised-faced man finished grumpily. The one-eyed man also nodded along. "The chief is meeting with guests. I'll take care of you quickly." Suji's eyes darted as he thought. "All of these guys are third-rate or second-rate level. Then they must be," he spoke leisurely, "the four greats of the Black Blade Sect, right?" The bruised-faced man was the first to charge. He yelled, "You insolent brat!" Didn't even touch the hem of his clothes. The guy took a full kick to the stomach so painful it brought tears to his eyes. He clutched his stomach, crying out in pain. The short one saw his ally get hit. He also got into a stance, drew his sword, and yelled, "You bastard!" Suji rushed in like a gust of wind. Two fingers shot out, aiming straight for his eyes, gouging them and sending blood flying everywhere. The short guy had to clutch his face, screaming, "My eyes!" The other two couldn't just stand by anymore. They charged forward together. The rat-faced one growled, "You damn brat!" As he was charging, Suji suddenly braked. He threw the horse bone straight ahead. Bone. It accurately slammed right into the rat-faced one's other eye, sending him flying backward. The bone, following the momentum, also flipped a few times in midair, before returning to Suji's hand. Not stopping there, he took a running start and leaped high, flying to where the rat-faced one was kneeling and clutching, his blood-soaked face trembling and unable to speak coherently. "My eyes," Suji, using his momentum, smashed the horse bone onto the top of his head. The bruised thug who had been clutching his stomach was also struggling to get up, gritting his teeth. "You son of a bitch! I'll make you feel the exact same pain." Finishing his sentence, the guy lunged forward to attack Suji. With his agile movements, he managed to take a step back just in time. He said in a mocking tone, "How funny. All this time you've only known how to take from others. Now that it's your turn to get robbed, it hurts, doesn't it?" Suji with the horse bone shattered a nearby porcelain vase. Shards of porcelain flew forward, embedding themselves in the bruised thug's body. He dropped to his knees, clutching his face and groaning in pain. Suji slowly approached, clicking his tongue with feigned pity. "Really, you're freaking out over just this? I came to take your souls, not just a few petty items." Another merciless blow came down. Fresh blood sprayed endlessly, to the utter shock of the remaining man. The bald guy's face turned pale, unable to hide his fear. "What the hell is this guy? Even in the Black Blade Sect, no one fights this brutally. And he just charged in with a horse bone. As a weapon, this guy's a real monster." Suji's face was ice cold, his killing intent radiating relentlessly. He slowly walked towards the bald guy. The man's large body trembled. Shaking uncontrollably, the tip of his sword pointed forward, with almost no strength behind it. Suji's gaze darkened. The bald guy's face grew a few shades colder. He screamed in terror, even though Suji hadn't touched him yet. He opened his mouth and exhaled sharply. Then he powerfully swung the horse bone, striking the man's body. The wall behind him, due to the bald guy's impact, had a large hole punched through it. The man in pain gritted his teeth, panting as he stammered, "You! Who are you? Who sent you?" His entire body emanating a blood-red killing aura. Suji replied, "The blacksmith." The man was stunned. "What, the blacksmith?" And then, before the man could ask anything more, Suji finished him off with a single fatal blow. He coldly walked forward, passing through the hole the bald guy had made, and muttered softly, "4 masters of the Black Blade Sect are done. That should be enough payment, right? Shopkeeper." The blood-red sun was slowly setting over the Black Blade Sect. From inside a room, a luxurious one, a man's booming voice echoed out. "So the mission was a failure." The other person replied in a low voice, "The master is furious, and of course so is the young master. If you had just bothered to disguise the Black Blade Sect members as proper forest bandits and successfully ambushed the tiger prestige escort agency, you would have gotten the goods and the reward from the Zhao family. But you idiots completely screwed it up." The leader of the Black Blade Sect, Gu Juhao, heard this and was so angry he clenched his fists. His whole body trembled. Not stopping there, the man from the Zhao family continued. "The ambush failed, people died like flies. Now you don't even have the money for the tribute to the demonic alliance. What happens if the tribute collector shows up, huh? What's the plan now?" His words made Gu Juhao's eyes widen in shock. He slammed his hand on the table. "Damn it, things have gotten out of control. I sent enough men to take down the Tiger Prestige Escort Agency. I never expected them to get wiped out instead. Not a single survivor returned. No one knows what happened." The Zhao man stood up, clicking his tongue. "You should have sent one of the 4 guardians of the Black Blade from the start." Gu Juhao shook his head in disappointment. "I didn't think things would turn out like this. If from the beginning you had told me the guards of the Tiger Prestige Escort Agency were that strong, we wouldn't be in this situation." Hearing this, the Zhao man whipped around a cold smile on his face and hissed, "Huh? Are you saying this is our fault?" He slammed his hand on the table as a warning. "Let me make this clear. If you fail again, you're all dead, got it?" Gu Juhao rubbed his forehead, sighed, and replied, "Understood." The Zhao man's face twisted into an ugly frown. He continued to drone on. "Unless the Tiger Prestige Escort Agency fails in its transport mission, the Tiger Prestige Sect won't be backed into a corner. And the young master's marriage proposal won't be able to move forward. If that kid doesn't get that girl, he won't give us any peace." Gu Juhao lost his patience and yelled, "I said I get it. That's enough." Just as he finished, a loud noise was heard. Both men whipped around to look. Gu Juhao pale thought, "What was that?" It came from the gate. "The 4 guardians are supposed to be on watch there." The room suddenly fell silent. Both men stared intently at the door. At that moment, a figure was reflected on the outside, silhouetted against the door panel. The silhouette turned to face inward. The door was gently pushed open by him. Suji tossed 4 heads of the 4 masters of the Black Blade Sect inside. Gu Juhao and the Zhao man saw the 4 heads and immediately turned pale with fear. The Zhao man trembled, thinking the heads of the 4 guardians. Don't tell me the righteous faction sent a master. Suji, without a word, strode confidently into the room. Knowing the situation looked bad for him, the Zhao man quickly said, "Wait, I'm with the Zhao family. I have nothing to do with the Black Blade Sect. I was just here to negotiate. That's all." Suji bit his own lip hard enough to draw blood. The man didn't see his expression and continued to explain. "Looking at the scene here, you must be here to wipe them out. I can help." Before he could finish his sentence, Suji spat a mouthful of blood right in his face, which made him cry out in shock. What the hell are you doing?" "I told you I'm with the Zhao family. I'm not part of the Black Blade Sect." In his mind, Suji clearly remembered a sentence Kokofu once told him. "One who masters the supreme demonic arts is called a demon breaker. The blood of a demon breaker is a potent poison to martial artists." He raised his hand to wipe the blood from the corner of his lip, thinking, though it's not as lethal as the poison of a true demon breaker, it's still painful enough, like rubbing chili powder on an open wound. The Zhao man, in pain, whipped out his sword, yelling, "Oh, damn it! What the hell is wrong with you?" Then he slashed down with his sword. But Suji leaned back in time to dodge. He glanced at the man, silently assessing him. His martial arts are first-rate, but he's still no match for the 4 guardians. Meanwhile, the horse bone in Suji's hand began to emit a deathly aura mixed with a red blood-like soul energy. The Zhao man and Gu Juhao were utterly stunned by the sight. The latter exclaimed as if he couldn't believe his eyes. "Impossible! Demonic arts!" Suji's entire body was now shrouded by a swarm of ghostly souls. The Zhao man charged forward once more, intending to attack him. "You're not from the righteous faction. You're a crazed demon." Suji ducked, dodging his sword strike. His eyes were razor-sharp. Suji swung his arm down. The man reacted quickly and jumped up in time, but his next blow was as fast as the wind, and with just one fatal strike to the middle of the head, fresh blood sprayed everywhere. The Zhao man dropped dead on the spot, without a chance to fight back. Red drops of blood pooled on the wooden floor. Gu Juhao witnessed it all. His face darkened as a storm of thoughts raged in his mind. Demons, demons. The demonic path, demonic arts, demonic beings. They transcend the boundaries of ideals and morality between righteous and evil. They are the embodiment of evil, the common enemy that the entire martial world must destroy. And yet a monster like that has appeared at the Black Blade Sect. Users of demonic arts are nothing but savage beasts until they reach a certain realm. They only know how to kill. While he's distracted by the Zhao guy, I can slip out and contact the demonic alliance. If not, the martial alliance will do. Thinking this, he opened the door behind him, intending to flee. But before he could even step out, a cold voice came from behind. "You're really Guju Hao?" He broke out in a cold sweat, wondering, wait, this guy can still reason. He's sane even after practicing demonic arts. A peak-level master. And what's more, he can still control the demonic energy in his body. Guju Hao's pupils contracted. Knowing he couldn't escape, he immediately bowed low, pleading desperately, "Please spare me. If you spare my life, I'll do anything. Today is the deadline to submit the tribute to the demonic alliance. If something happens, I'll lose my life and you'll run into trouble as well." Suji smirked in surprise. This one's more clear-headed than I thought. He then spoke, "Then cripple your martial arts?" Guju Hao was stunned and repeated, "What? Cripple your martial arts?" Suji's voice was cold. "If you refuse, I'll kill you right now." Suji's words made him bow his head even lower. Guju Hao gritted his teeth, thinking, crippling my martial arts is the same as dying. In that case, I might as well fight back with one last strike. With that thought, he reached for the hilt of his sword, intending to draw it. Suji, as if he had expected it, smirked faintly. "I knew it. Just a coward who's all talk." As he finished, Suji slammed his weapon down where Guju Hao was kneeling. The man quickly shot up to dodge the blow. However, he was still grazed by the attack. Blood began to drip with every step Guju Hao took. He gritted his teeth and hissed, "This aura. It turns out you're not a peak-level master. Just a second-rate martial artist, and you dared to deceive me. How audacious." He slung the horse bone over his shoulder. Suji nodded faintly. "What a farce. But this makes cleaning up the Black Blade Sect easier. It's time for a purge." A wave of dizziness hit him, making Guju Hao grit his teeth. He realized something was wrong. Impossible. He must have done something in that last strike. In a flash, Suji was in front of Guju Hao. He said coldly, "I should be the one thanking you. Normally, you'd be a troublesome opponent. But because you misunderstood, things became much easier." Savage laughter echoed, ringing in his ears. Ghostly souls rushed and coiled around Guju Hao, making him turn pale with fear and cry out. They whispered, "Die, you too. Let's die together, Captain." But Guju Hao, using all his strength, swung his sword a few times into the empty air. Suji, with a cold expression, slowly dodged his attacks. He quickly counterattacked. His blow was precise, striking Guju Hao's bicep directly. He cried out in pain and then growled, "Damn it!" His sword-wielding hand followed through, aiming a slash at Suji. However, he moved too quickly, so fast that the man stammered, "What the?" Watching Suji's every step, Guju Hao thought to himself, his movements are wild yet disciplined like an assassin's, but he still carries the air of a true warrior. Unpredictable movements, designed to kill the enemy in any situation, like a demon on the battlefield. Just as Guju Hao lost his composure, Suji swung the horsebone right before his eyes. A heaven-sent blow came down. Guju Hao screamed in agony. His entire body was sent flying a great distance, crashing into a bookshelf, reducing it to a pile of rubble. Guju Hao gasped for breath. Suji, meanwhile, calmly caught a piece of paper fluttering in the air, watching the man struggling to crawl on the ground. Suji's emotionless voice rang out. "You kidnapped civilian women, sold them into brothels, and then blackmailed them to build the Black Blade Sect into what it is today. You also borrowed a mountain of debt from the Tiger Chastising Agency." Guju Hao now knew regret. He shed tears, begging, "Great warrior, I was wrong, just spare me. I swear I'll never wield a torch in my hand again." Suji cut him off. "How many people?" Guju Hao asked blankly. "What?" He stared, his voice cold. "How many people have begged you to spare their lives? Just like this, that's what I'm asking." The torch in Suji's hand drew closer to Guju Hao. He grew more terrified. Guju Hao sobbed, "Please spare me, I beg you. I'll do anything." Suji completely ignored his pleas. The torch was dropped onto the pile of documents covering the man. The fire caught quickly and flared up violently. Suji raised the weapon in his hand and said, "This way. It will also lessen some of the regrets of the Tiger Chastising Agency." Hearing him say this, Guju Hao's eyes suddenly widened in shock. "The Tiger Chastising Agency, wait, could it be that he's the one who's caused all the recent trouble?" Before his thought could finish, Suji brought his weapon straight down. A gush of fresh blood sprayed everywhere. Blood from the horse bone was also dripping onto the floor next to the ever-growing fire. Guju Hao's ghostly soul floated up right before Suji's eyes. Then all that soul energy entered his body. Gazing at the burning corpse in the flames, Suji muttered, "So this is the leader of the Black Blade Sect, Guju Hao. Perhaps he was worth something after all. Saying that, he smirked and turned to leave. Just as he reached the door, Suji heard people shouting, "This way, master! Hurry up! Huh! Someone's coming out! Who's this brat? Who cares, kill him!" Suji glanced at the crowd and sighed, softly. Looks like it's going to be a long night. The next morning at a bustling market, people gathered in small groups gossiping. "Hey, have you heard the news? I heard it from a guy who used to work for the Black Blade Sect." Wuxian, who was eavesdropping, chimed in. "Last night the entire sect was wiped out. Their whole headquarters was burned to the ground too." Hearing this, two young men gasped, their mouths agape. "Really, they deserved it," Wuxian affirmed with certainty. "Absolutely. We at the Tiger's Lair sect also suffered because of them." The two young men were once again surprised. "The Tiger's Lair sect too?" He nodded, putting on the serious expression. His voice subconsciously dropped lower. "I heard the Black Blade sect bought up the Tiger's Lair's debt from the moneylenders. Not to mention they'd occasionally come here and cause trouble. But thanks to what happened, those debts are now worthless. And the Tiger's Lair sect actually benefited." One of the young men, excited, cheered, "That's awesome! Who was the master that destroyed them? Truly a hero of Anhui province." At that moment, Wuxian's gaze shifted to the side. Seeing Suji sleeping while sitting on a nearby haystack, he grew angry and yelled, "Hey, newbie, are you done cleaning the horse manure yet?" Suji opened his eyes and glanced at Wuxian. His look only infuriated the man more. "What's with that look? You got a problem?" Suji's face immediately darkened. He thought, "This is so annoying. Should I take out the golden token? No, it's better to keep quiet. Until I've dealt with the Zhao family." Seeing Suji not answering, Wuxian gritted his teeth and hissed, "That's enough. Listen when I'm talking to you." Suddenly a stern voice rang out, "You too?" "Woo!" Xian heard that voice and immediately turned pale. He turned around. "Ah, that voice." The person approaching gently reminded him, "Hey, stop bullying the new recruit, okay?" Suji was momentarily stunned. His eyes widened as if he couldn't believe what he was seeing. He felt as though he saw the image of his senior Aigu before him. He slowly said, "I'm not too familiar with your customs, but new recruits should be treated with a little kindness, right?" "Right." The image of his senior Aigu holding a potato in his hand gradually faded. When his vision cleared, the person was Lady Aigu, not him. Wuxian, sweating profusely, stammered a reply. "Yes, my lady. It's not what you think. This kid, no, he wouldn't listen to a word I said." Aigu glanced at him. "He's still young. This is probably his first time doing this kind of work, so please be patient and teach him." Wuxian, blushing slightly, made an excuse. "But he's just a vagrant. He'll probably leave soon anyway." She, of course, disagreed with his words. Aigu's face grew stern, her voice cold. "They say even brushing sleeves with someone is a kind of fate. Isn't that right? Therefore, we must cherish every connection. Life is unpredictable. You might meet again in some faraway place. Who knows, you might even become family someday." Her somewhat metaphorical words once again brought the image of Suji standing shoulder to shoulder with Aigu to his mind. Wuxian, after being scolded, paled and bowed his head, thinking, "As if I'd ever meet this guy again." The young man behind him also scratched his head in confusion. "A faraway place? This is Anhui province. Who would ever leave here?" After reprimanding Wuxian, Aigu turned and asked Suji in a gentle voice, "Hey, are you the new guy? If anyone bullies you, just come and tell me, understand?" Suji's heart, because of her words, skipped a beat. He was stunned, his face blank, his mind in turmoil. What is this? Her face and voice are different from before, but those clear eyes haven't changed at all. You're still the same as ever. Thinking this, Suji smiled unconsciously. He said, "And you too." Aigu turned her head. "Huh," Suji said gently. "If anyone bullies you again, please tell me." Hearing this, she widened her eyes in surprise. "Huh." Meanwhile, Wuxian behind them clutched his head in fear, yelling, "You idiot, how dare you talk to the young lady like that?" But contrary to his needless worrying, Aigu's eyes crinkled into a smile as she nodded. "Understood, I'll do that." Night fell. Suji walked alone, down a deserted path, illuminated only by the moonlight. He approached a carefully wrapped pile of goods. Gently, he pulled back the cover to reveal all the items he had hidden inside. Quickly stuffing the items into a bag, he slung it over his hip. Suji coldly picked up his spear and muttered, "I've avenged the escort team and the shopkeeper. Now it's time to find the one who killed my sworn brother." Later in Anhui province, a figure darted off at high speed, flying straight towards the private residence of the Zhao family. Suji's agility was so great that he vaulted straight inside, bypassing the guards stationed at the gate. Leaping from the rooftop to the ground, he then rushed inside again. Suji confidently charged forward, encountering a guard on patrol outside. The guard widened his eyes and muttered blankly, completely unaware that Suji was now appearing behind him. "Did I just hear something?" Fresh blood sprayed out. The guard took a fatal blow from him and immediately fell, dying instantly. Suji silently dragged his body into a hidden corner. Blood flowed freely following his every step. After disposing of his body, Suji slowly stepped out. His face was cold without a hint of expression. He continued forward and came across two girls, whispering to each other. One exclaimed, "The security is really tight tonight." The other replied, "After the Black Blade sect was wiped out in a single night, it's understandable." Hearing that, the first girl nodded. "But it has nothing to do with us, right?" The other chimed in, "I hope so." As he was walking, Suji suddenly had to stop in his tracks. Before him stood a group of guards positioned on all sides. Suji lightly flicked something forward. The spiky object rolled to a nearby guard. Not paying attention, one of them stepped on it. As the man frowned and exclaimed, "Is this iron?" Suji moved as fast as lightning, appearing next to the guard, and striking him on the head, while he was still examining the sharp object. "The caltrop!" The guard gushed blood, his head lolling as he fell backward. Taking this opportunity, Suji leaped onto the roof. Another guard who was eating saw his friend slump to the ground. He frowned and called out, "Hey, what are you doing sitting there? Can't even get a decent meal, damn it." While the guard wasn't looking, drops of poison were deftly poured by Suji onto the bun in the man's hand. When the other man didn't answer, he took a bite of the poisoned bun while frowning and cursing, "This bastard. Hey, are you listening? I'm talking to—" After taking a few steps, blood began to drip from the man's eyes and nose, falling onto the cold stone floor. Only then did he tremble and stammer, "Huh? What the hell is this?" As he finished speaking, his body collapsed. The guards rushed over to check on the situation. They shouted in alarm, "What the hell is this poison? Don't joke around like that. Gather everyone from the kitchen. Close the main gate. Make sure no one leaves this place." Suji calmly capped the vial of poison, then looked down at his equipment spikes, iron hammers and the like. He thought to himself, "Still as effective as ever, huh? Master, I like it." Now that the equipment check is done, I guess it's time for a little visit. The Zhao family, that name. It ends tonight. At the same time, in a room with no less than 3 guards stationed. One complained, "Just because of that Black Blade incident, we have to post guards on every floor." Another said sternly, "This is no joke." Just then, sharp sword slashes began to appear on the door panel. All 3 men, stunned, widened their eyes to assess the situation. The door was quickly kicked in. Suji broke through from the outside, charging in to the astonishment of the 3 guards. They gritted their teeth in alarm, gripping their weapons tightly. What was that, an intruder? No, an assassin. Suji rushed from the doorway, straight inside with a sharp spear in his hand. The 3 guards didn't even have time to react, before their carotid arteries were all severed. Suji calmly continued up the stairs. In his ears, he could hear voices getting clearer. "Did you hear something just now? I think it came from the floor below." Suji walked up the stairs and encountered another patrolling guard coming down. Seeing him, the man asked, "Huh, are you the one assigned to the 4th floor? What was that noise just now?" "The master has already retired for the night. Keep it down. Go back and tell the others to keep order." "Wait, what? Why are you carrying a spear instead of a sword?" Suji assumed a stance, preparing to attack. Ghostly souls emanated, coiling around his body. His powerful foot crushed a wooden plank to gain momentum. Then Suji launched himself towards the guard, plunging the spearhead straight through his body. Blood gushed out relentlessly. Another group of guards from above witnessed the scene and screamed, "What an attack! It's an assassin!" Suji's hand tightened on the spear, thrusting it deeper. Instantly, another body was impaled on his spear. From the floor below, a commander's voice echoed up, "Intruder, get him." But Suji was completely unfazed. He stood there motionlessly, absorbing all the ghostly souls of the guards he had just killed. Suddenly, 2 guards appeared. They gripped their weapons tightly, charging forward while gritting their teeth and cursing, "Damn it, where did he come from? What are the others doing? Where's the backup?" Before they even touched a corner of Suji's clothes, they stopped short. Each man's face turned purple with pain. The caltrops Suji had scattered all over the floor. They stepped on them and immediately fell to the ground, clutching their feet and screaming. One of them dropped to his knees, trembling, and said, When did you set a trap, you coward?" Suji stepped forward without a word and stabbed him once in the neck. The other man suffered the same fate, his head smashed by a hammer. Blood dripped from the 2 weapons onto the floor, following Suji's every step. Just then the door in front of them opened. A calm, cold voice rang out, too noisy. Suji's face immediately hardened. He thought to himself, that voice. The internal energy is terrifying. He's far beyond Gujuhao. Standing in the doorway was a tall old man with a white beard. He leaned forward and strode quickly. Narrowing his eyes, he spoke. "Even if you're uninvited, you should maintain some basic courtesy, shouldn't you?" Suji gritted his teeth. His eyes burned with ultimate hatred. "We finally meet. The one who massacred countless lives for personal gain and pushed IQ into hell. Head of the Zhao family, Zhao Yushi. The man sneered contemptuously and asked, "What business do you have seeking me out at this hour?" Suji's eyes burned with ultimate hatred. He said to himself, "We finally meet. The one who made so many innocent people suffer, and threw Aiku into hell." Facing Suji, the man sneered and asked, "What brings you here at this hour?" He lifted his head slightly, calling him out by name, Zhao Yushi, leader of the Zhao clan. "It's you. Isn't it dark energy emanated from Zhao Yushi's body?" He said in a low voice, "Insolent brat, watch your mouth. Who are you? You don't seem to belong to the righteous faction, the Valley of Ruin or the Supreme Society, or the Black Sands region." Suji sensed the aura from Zhao Yushi, frowning as he thought. His aura is strange, chaotic, yet focused. This fight won't be easy. Then he opened his mouth and answered flatly, "The Tiger's Den Sect." Hearing this, Zhao Yushi looked somewhat surprised. "Raised by a master of the Tiger's Den Sect, huh? Hard to believe, I can't imagine. That person raising a tiger like you. What is your connection to the Tiger's Den Sect?" Suji frowned and replied coldly, "I'm just a guest. A warrior servant, no more like a stable boy." But Zhao Yushi's face still held a look of bewilderment after hearing his introduction. Finally, he smirked mockingly. "So you're not giving anything away for free. But it doesn't matter where you come from. You've thrown yourself into the lion's den. The best course of action is to kill you, without another word. Don't you agree?" As he spoke, he swiftly drew his sword from its sheath and immediately slashed forward. Suji closed his eyes, breathing steadily. He said to himself, "Meeting Zhao Yushi in the flesh feels surreal. In my past life, this old man lived peacefully to the end of his days. Aiku had to swallow her tears, unable to get revenge with her own hands. But now it's different. This life will be different. Aiku, I will avenge you. Right here, right now." His train of thought broken, it was time for Suji to charge forward using his spear to block a sword strike from Zhao Yushi. The two weapons clashed, creating a deafening sound. The immense power coming from Suji made the old man grit his teeth in shock. Zhao Yushi was knocked back. However, he managed to plant his feet and keep his balance. Zhao Yushi's expression turned grim. His cold voice rang out, Are you using demonic arts? Why do I sense the internal energy of the Zhao clan from you?" Suji smirked and grunted in confirmation. He returned to his fighting stance, with numerous ghostly souls emanating around him. Suji laughed and asked, "So why do you think that is?" In his mind, he told himself, "My soul title has reached the 9th stage, so I'm on par with Zhao Yushi, a top-tier master. Therefore, the deciding factor between someone living a second life and you is the gap in experience." Knowing he couldn't afford to lose face, Zhao Yushi made several sharp slashes in the air, using them to attack Suji. He leaned aside, dodging the blow. Then he raised his spear and charged forward to counter. His spear was easily blocked by Zhao Yushi. He didn't hold back his praise. An impressive move. The friction made the spear and sword emit a bright light. Zhao Yushi pushed Suji's weapon away, his voice cold. "But that alone isn't enough to defeat me." He smirked deviously, thinking with disdain, "Now what are you going to do? Brat, no matter who you are. If my attack hits your eye, you're done for." Despite being knocked back, Suji didn't panic. On the contrary, his eyes gained a new level of determination. His dark pupils suddenly vanished. The whites of his eyes flashed as if struck by lightning. And then Suji instantly lunged towards Zhao Yushi, causing him to exclaim in shock, "What a cold, merciless spear thrust." Fresh blood splattered onto Suji's face. Drops of blood and a piece of Zhao's white beard fluttered down. His face turned pale, realizing his neck had been slashed. He said, "More dangerous than I thought. My head was almost chopped off, but you're the same. Your guts are practically spilling out." He clicked his tongue, quickly covering the wound with his hand. Suji thought, "His attacks are both broad and backed by deep experience. It won't be easy to find an opening to win." His hand discreetly grabbed 2 stakes, sharpened to a point, and threw them straight ahead. But Zhao Yushi only needed a slight tilt of his head to dodge them. He clicked his tongue, "Oh, you even know how to use long-range weapons." But it didn't stop there. Suji swung a horsebone to attack Zhao Yushi again. He just needed to tilt his head back to spot it, saying flatly, "And that's stubbornness, too. Now I'm really curious about who raised a freak like you. If you surrender now, I'll take you in as my subordinate." Stepping back to dodge Suji's attack, he took the opportunity to cleverly swing his sword in retaliation. Suji quickly realized it. He cursed silently, "Sly old fox." He was preparing to attack right after saying those words. Zhao's foot, Yushi powerfully stomped on the wooden plank beneath him to gain momentum. Suji's eyes widened. Zhao Yushi launched his body towards him and slashed relentlessly. With his nimble body, Suji was also fiercely countering every blow, until Suji carelessly stepped in a puddle of blood, causing him to slip. He gritted his teeth and yelled, "Damn it!" Seizing the opportunity, Zhao Yushi lunged forward, striking down and saying, "It's over." The moment he spoke, the sword plunged into one side of his hip, before Suji's wide eyes. The blade pierced through his body. Though it was incredibly painful, he didn't make a sound, which made Zhao Yushi exclaim in surprise, "Oh, not even a single scream. You've got guts. You're truly different from my foolish son." With just a minor injury, that brat had people fussing over him endlessly. That's why I realized he needs a strong wife. I don't know how much longer I have to live. I just hope to see my grandchild's face once. Suddenly, Suji's hand shot up and gripped the sharp blade. This action made Zhao Yushi grit his teeth in shock. Suji tightened his grip on the sword, his head slightly bowed. His cold voice rang out, "You don't know how much longer you have to live." The sword in Zhao Yushi's hand trembled. He was surprised, then shocked as he thought, "My sword, it won't move. No matter how hard I pull, if his hand is holding the sword in that position, this brat. No way, he's blocking the sword with his ribs. Truly insane and reckless. Could it be that he intentionally revealed an opening earlier, to lure me into attacking his side?" Thinking this, Zhao Yushi's eyes widened in disbelief. His whole body trembled. Suji spoke slowly, "I'll tell you. How much longer you have to live?" "Zhao Yushi," he smirked. Most terrifyingly, his ribs clamped down. The ghostly souls from Suji began to spread out, surrounding Zhao Yushi's body. He stammered loudly, "What is this?" Zhao Yushi's face became more distorted than ever. In his mind right now, there were only chaotic thoughts. Not retreat, escape. This feeling, it's fear. Am I afraid? The demonic aura spread without any sign of stopping. The voice calling his name seemed to echo from hell. Zhao Yushi knew he couldn't just stand by and wait to die. He hissed, "Damn it!" Then he gripped the sword with both hands, hoping to pull it out of Suji's body. Zhao Yushi thought to himself, "I have to pull the sword out and create distance." Suddenly he froze and looked at Suji, who now looked like nothing less than a demon, with a blood-red body and a devilish smile. He continued to call out savagely, "Zhao Yushi!" A red hand, with long, sharp claws, reached for Zhao Yushi, making him so scared that tears welled up in his eyes. And then Zhao Yushi's entire body was plunged into the world of ghostly souls. His scream echoed, sounding utterly desperate and pained. The ghostly hand touched Zhao Yushi's face, ready to tear him apart. Just then Suji lunged, plunging his spear into Zhao Yushi's side, exactly as he had done to him. Zhao Yushi coughed up blood in pain, his mouth stammering. What just happened? Was it an illusion or killing intent? How can a kid like you possess that kind of killing intent? Suji smiled dangerously again. He calmly answered Zhao Yushi's question. You may have experienced many battles in your life, but they were just matches with rules. Or practice. The spearhead, in Suji's hand, coldly pierced through Zhao Yushi's body, to the old man's astonishment. His voice continued to ring out steadily. The life and death battles between infantrymen, in the war I was dragged into, compared to the slaughter I was forced to commit to survive, this is just child's play. Finishing his sentence, Suji ruthlessly pushed Zhao Yushi away. He dropped the spear to the ground, bent down, and picked up the hammer, while the old man was still coughing nonstop. Zhao Yushi whispered, "My son, just my son." "Don't kill him, please." Suji raised the hammer high. He replied coldly, "That request is impossible." The blow came down without a shred of mercy, causing fresh blood to spurt out endlessly. He lifted the hammer from the slimy, stinking pile of flesh. Suji smirked and muttered, "In the end, you'll never get to see your grandchild's face." He stood up and took a deep breath, letting the ghostly souls heal his wounds. He told himself, "First things first, I need to recover." Just then, a monster made of ghostly souls appeared before Suji, laughing maniacally. It pointed the way, this smell. Suji unconsciously followed its direction. The further he went, more excited it became, laughing louder. "I can smell it! I can smell it!" Suji glanced to his right, looking down at the censer that was constantly emitting ghostly souls. Then he glanced to his left, where a large jar was placed neatly. The ghostly soul flew hurriedly towards the jar and said, "It's here, this jar." Before Suji could do anything, the jar shattered. The person inside the jar was Zhao, Taihan clutching his head in fear. The ghostly soul laughed maniacally, "Young master, I found you." He scrambled backwards in fear, pleading, "Don't come any closer. Help me." Suji lightly touched his eye, thinking to himself, because of the desires of trash like him, so many people had to live in hell. Suji grabbed Zhao Taihan's hair and pulled him up, forcing him to look at him. His face was drained of all color, and he could only make muffled noises. Suji asked in a cold voice, his eyes sharp, and his body constantly radiating a demonic aura, "You still seem to have enough strength to scream so loudly, huh? Born into a wealthy family, with both money and power. Did you think you were the hero of this world?" Tears and snot streamed down Zhao Taihan's face. He bit his lip, unable to say a word. After a moment, Suji continued, "All right then. In that case, let me make you the star of the show. Sounds fun, doesn't it? Tonight, you're the main character." His fingers gripping Zhao Taihan's hair squeezed tighter and tighter. The The blood-stained hammer continued to drip. He foamed at the mouth in fear. Immediately after, a pain-filled scream echoed. When the long night ended, posters were plastered all over Anhui province. The content stated that, because the righteous faction had colluded with the underworld for profit, someone had taken action to punish them on behalf of the victims. After reading the poster, the people began to gossip excitedly, non-stop. What's going on? The underworld and the Zhao family estate being wiped out. One after another, I heard. A mysterious punisher appeared and killed everyone, except for the servants. Well, good riddance. The monsters who dared to mess with the Tiger's Den sect have been dealt with, but I still wonder who did this. Both Gu Juhao and Zhao Yushi were not easy opponents. Waiting for the crowd's chatter to die down, Wu Xian spoke up again. I heard from a woman who used to be a servant in the Zhao family estate. Hearing this, the gossiping young men became rowdy again. Her again, with a face like that. He must have a lot of girlfriends. Wu Xian snapped quietly, shut up and listen. Apparently that punisher called Zhao Yushi's name 3 times before killing him. A frightened young man asked, is he the Grim Reaper? Why would he call someone's name like that? Wu Xian put on a scary face and continued in a low voice. She said that when his name was called, Zhao Yushi was so scared he started crying. The man in the headband stammered, what? That's terrifying. The other young man wondered. He calls their name 3 times and drags them to the underworld. He's not planning on coming to the Tiger's Den sect, is he? As they were engrossed in the story, a man ran in through the door open and shouted, startling them all. The man said, he's here riding a horse being led through the streets. However, Aiku was not in the mood. She thought grimly. 3 calls to the underworld. The mysterious punisher that people are talking about has destroyed both the underworld and the Zhao family estate. Even if they were bad people, rejoicing in someone else's death feels wrong. But I'm still curious as who that punisher is. Could it be a ghost or a demon? It's scary, but I'm also curious. Why did he only step in to help our Tiger's Den sect? Could it be the person Shu Ok mentioned in her letter? Aiku was stunned, remembering the letter she had received from Shu Ok. In the letter she wrote, thanks to a certain punisher, we were able to protect our escort mission and goods from the forest bandits. I gave that person my golden insignia and asked him to visit the Tiger's Den sect. If he does come, please welcome him kindly. Aiku rubbed her chin, her brow furrowed in thought. But, Shu Ok, so far no one has come with a golden insignia. Suddenly the horse's reins were gently tugged, bringing the horse to a stop. Only then did Aiku snap out of it, saying, looks like I was lost in thought again. Where are we? She looked to the side and then suddenly stopped, taken by the beautiful scenery before her. Aiku smiled, tucking her hair to one side. She reached out her hand and said excitedly, have I ever told you? How did you know I like lakes? Suji, who was holding the horse's reins, answered flatly, you've mentioned it before. Aiku was surprised. Really, I did. Then she looked blankly thinking, have I ever told you? Suji made a look of resignation and said to himself, in the past life, whenever you were upset or confused, you always sat by the lake. He pulled a small object from his pocket. Suji flicked it open to Aiku's surprise. What is that? He didn't answer, but let the scent spread around them for a moment. Finally, she recognized it. It's insect repellent. I love lakes, but the insects are so annoying. You're so thoughtful. You just got here and you're already like this. Were you like this at your previous job? Suji answered quietly. A warrior gives his all for those who value him. Whoever treats me like family, I will treat them the same. Aiku stared in surprise after hearing those words from Suji. Lightly scratching her cheek, she said quietly, it seems you have your reasons. I won't pry, but as long as you're at the Tiger's Den sect, we are your family. He looked up at Aiku with eyes full of emotion. A piece of a memory from his past life surfaced in his mind. It was when Suji returned from a mission, holding the body of his senior Aiku who had no strength left, to hear him whisper his last words. Suji, do you know why I saved you? Because I am the heir of the Tiger's Den. You told me once before, didn't you, that the sect master and his wife are good people. From that moment on, I started to see you as family. Suji gently reached out his hand, intending to take hers. Suddenly, from a distance, Wu Xian's voice called out, young miss. The two of them stopped their movements and looked at him with confusion. He continued to shout, the escort team. The escort team is back. Hearing that, Aiku exclaimed happily, really? Then she pulled hard on the reins to make the horse run, turning her head to say to Suji, sorry, but I have to go first. There's a party tonight, so make sure to save room to eat. After saying that, Aiku quickly urged the horse away, leaving Suji standing there still stunned. Looking down at his hand, Wu Xian panted as he called after her. After Aiku rode past him, young miss, please wait. He quietly clenched his fist. Suji smiled and mumbled, well, this is fine too. With that, he turned and looked towards the beautiful scenery in the distance, not noticing Aiku chiding Wu Shan on the other side. "You're too slow." And he just kept running after her, calling out, "Young miss," later at the banquet. Go-jin raised his glass and shouted heartily, "A toast to the leader of the escort team, Suji, the hero of our journey." Everyone cheered in unison. "Cheers, standing before everyone," Go-jin announced. "Tonight, let's drink to our heart's content." They all shouted together, "Long live the Tiger's Den Sect!" Long live the Tiger's Den Sect. Suji was sitting peacefully in a corner drinking tea, when suddenly a tall figure appeared behind him. Wu Shan slapped him on the shoulder and called out, "Hey, who do you think you are accompanying the young miss?" The other two young men chimed in. "Only veteran guards are allowed to escort the young miss." Suji remained silent. Wu Shan pushed all the food off the table and pointed at his face, warning, "Say something. If you keep acting like this, you won't get any food to eat." The two young men beside him also followed his bullying ways. "There's no food for you here, arrogant brat." Just then a familiar voice rang out again. "What do you think you're doing?" The three of them turned pale when they saw her approaching angrily, exclaiming, "Young miss." Aiku questioned them in a cold voice. "Don't tell me you're bullying Suji again." Wu Shen laughed fakely. "Of course not. We were just bringing some food for him to eat with us." Another one chimed in. "Yes, that's right." Aiku sighed helplessly. She brought a small piece of cake to Suji's mouth, her voice slightly chiding. "I told you, if you're being bullied, you have to tell me. Gosh, you still haven't eaten properly. Did they not give you enough to eat? If this happens again, you have to tell me." Suddenly, Go-jin, sitting on his throne, waved Aiku over. "Come here." Before the extremely resentful eyes of Wu Xian's group, Aiku instructed Suji, "I have to go. Make sure you eat well." Wu Xian became more and more jealous. He gritted his teeth, looking straight at his face and demanding, "Why does the young miss favor you so much?" A young man said angrily, "You're just a kid compared to us." The other one also gritted his teeth in jealousy. "Without that pretty face, you'd be nothing." Then, as if an idea struck him, Wu Shen said, "Since the young miss ordered it, we have to feed you. So, let me feed you." With that, he frantically scooped up food and tried to force Suji to eat it. "Eat this." However, he simply dodged it, his face a picture of helplessness and resignation. His attitude made Wu Xian even more annoyed. He said in a low voice, "What the hell? Stop dodging, you bastard." After that, Suji was constantly bothered by the three of them. "Eat this. We'll beat that rotten attitude out of you." What's this? He's dodging everything except the meat and eating it. That look on his face. He's mocking us, isn't he? Damn it. He's driving me crazy. Except for Suji's corner, which was noisy. The party was proceeding normally. Go-jin smiled kindly. He looked at Shuak and said with satisfaction, "Thanks to Commander Shu. This trip has ended safely. Now we can finally breathe a sigh of relief." Sagan also added, "Don't worry about the families of the fallen guards. I swear on my honor to take responsibility for them until the end." Shuak cupped her fist and smiled with narrowed eyes. "Please don't worry about the families of the fallen guards. I was just doing my duty." Aiku, holding a wine jug, approached her and said softly, "You've worked hard. Please let me pour you a cup." Shuak quickly raised her cup and smiled. "Ah, thank you very much." As she poured the wine, Aiku asked casually, "By the way, what about the guest with the golden insignia mentioned in the letter?" Shuak nodded. "Ah, I wanted to ask about that too. I don't see them anywhere. Could it be that they didn't come to the Tiger's Den Sect?" Aiku shook her head. "That's right, if they had come, we would have prepared to welcome them as honored guests." Hearing that, she covered her face and sighed. "I see." Shuak's eyes became resolute. She began to recount. He was a righteous hero who used a spear. Though young, he displayed overwhelming strength to wipe out the Blue Forest bandits. No, actually, they were members of the Black Blade gang. I wanted to thank him personally again. But it's a pity that I couldn't. At this point, Shuak bit her lip and bowed her head, thinking disappointedly, if only I could recruit such a master. Not only would it make our sect stronger, but my subordinates wouldn't have to die anymore. Her hand unconsciously clenched. Aiku gently touched Shuak's hand and coaxed her softly. Miss Ak, you have done so much for the Tiger's Den Sect. Please, wash away all regrets and worries with this cup of wine. Cheers, thanks to your efforts. Many people are smiling because of you." Her words were like a warm stream enveloping Shuak's body. She was momentarily stunned, stammering, "Ah!" She gently put down her cup, remembering the smiling faces she had worked so hard to protect. Shuak seemed to have an epiphany. "That's right. Me and my subordinates. We fought to protect this everyday peace." A slight smile appeared on Shuak's lips. She reached for her cup, about to take a sip, but suddenly froze. Her sharp eyes glanced towards the noisy area not far away. As if she saw something, Shuak's eyes widened, a thought flashing through her mind. What's this? Through the boisterous crowd of Wu Xian and his group, the person she saw was none other than Suji. Shuak was shocked. That brat from before. Suji had also seen her. He made a silencing gesture as a reminder. Meanwhile, Shuak was still incredibly surprised. Huh, what are you doing here? Suji, while struggling to dodge the spoonfuls of food Wu Xian was offering, exchanged a look with her as if to say, not yet. It's still too early to use your golden card. Until then, you will keep your mouth shut about me. Yuseon and the two young men collapsed, panting heavily. He roared in anger. Stay right there, you bastard! Everyone get him. With that, the three of them charged toward Suji again. But then a sudden sharp tapping sound rang out, causing Yuseon to freeze all movement. Suji glanced toward the source of the sound. A man was holding a small bone, tapping it against a wooden fish. He tossed the bone onto the table and said in a cold voice, Silence! While I am eating. Yuseon cracked his knuckles. He gritted his teeth and growled, What the hell is with this guy? You should thank our merciful leader for allowing a useless bum like you to enjoy this feast. You stink. Hurry up and eat, then get lost. The man smirked and reached out a hand. Oh, looks like you've got some nerve. I guess I'll have to teach you a lesson. Yuseon's brow furrowed deeply. What are you muttering about? Suddenly an arm shot out, blocking his chest. The man smirked. What's this? Impressive. You saw through my intentions that quickly. With moves like that, you'll have a bright future. Kid, hey Fatso. You'd better be grateful to that kid for the rest of your life. You were saved thanks to him. With that, the man turned and walked away, leaving behind a still fuming Yuseon who muttered a curse. Is that guy insane? He slowly walked toward the banquet hall, and then shouted boisterously, Everyone listen up. Thank you for inviting me to such a wonderful feast. However, it's a pity you only have cold sake, so allow me to pour everyone a cup of hot sake. As he finished speaking, the man immediately picked up his wooden fish. He placed 2 fingers on the table, channeling his internal energy into them, causing his fingertips to emit a stream of ki. The table where Go-Gaeon sat began to shake violently. The sake in his cup evaporated completely. He smirked deviously. Oops, it seems I made it a little too hot. All the good wine has evaporated. Suyoka turned pale at the sight. She broke into a cold sweat, thinking to herself, to be this powerful with internal energy alone, this man has reached the pinnacle of martial arts at the very least. Go-Gaeon also felt an immense pressure closing in on him. He asked in a deep voice, Monk, who are you really? Tossing the wooden fish forward, the man clicked his tongue. I'm not a monk. I just picked up this wooden fish on my way here. It's late, but let me introduce myself. I am the money-collecting demon of the Heretical Union. I was once known as the Demon Staff. My name is Gugoryo the Demon Staff. He was once famous as one of the twin demons, who rampaged throughout the martial world. After clashing with the demonic cult, he fought their leader and was defeated. He was then forced to work under them. His main job is to collect tribute from organizations that don't pay on time. And if they dare to resist, he annihilates their sect. Go. Gian frowned and glanced at Suyoka. Could he be the one Suyoka gave the gold plaque to? She quickly shook her head. No, it's not him. I've never seen this person before. Unlike everyone else's worried expressions, Gugoryo casually poured some wine and said, It's been a while since I've been back to Anhui province and I heard that the Black Blade sect and the Zhao family estate have been wiped out. In a situation like this, you're all still throwing a lavish party. It's no wonder you're under suspicion. Right. His killing intent radiated out, causing Suyoka's eyes to widen in fear. Go-Gaeon immediately denied it. It's just a coincidence. We have nothing to do with that. Gugoryo smirked. Just a coincidence, huh? Then let's continue the party tonight. I've heard the rumors, but it seems you're even more formidable than they say. The person he was referring to was Go-Aiku. He took a step back and asked warily, What are you talking about? He rubbed his chin and said, I heard the Zhao family was destroyed because they were captivated by your beauty. And I understand why. With a face like that, it's no surprise if 1 or 2 sects fall. After all, you are that beautiful. With that, Gugoryo burst out laughing. In a flash, he appeared right in front of Go-Aiku. Do you know what happens when someone weak is born with a beauty like this? Then he spat a mouthful of saliva in Go-Aiku's face. While she was still stunned, Gugoryo sneered. You will be forced to endure unjust humiliation, just like this. Understand, unable to bear it any longer. Go! Gian drew his sword, pointed it at Gugoryo, and roared. What do you mean by that? If you came here to cause trouble, don't expect us to stand idly by. The man laughed gleefully. Do you really think you can beat me? Go-Gian said in a low voice. This isn't about winning or losing. My daughter was just insulted right in front of me. Let's go outside so we don't involve the innocent. Gugoryo remained seated, elegantly sipping his wine as he replied, That won't be necessary. Let's settle this right here, shall we? The aura around Go Jian pulsated with rage, a complete contrast to the dark energy surrounding Gu Goryo. Just as he was about to attack, Go Aiku quickly spoke up to stop him. "Father, please sheathe your sword." She gently wiped the spittle from her face, then calmly picked up the wine jug and poured it into Gu Goryo's cup, saying softly, "Thank you for teaching us an important lesson. This is your payment." He frowned and clicked his tongue. "Even though I just spat in your face, you still pour me a drink. The daughter of a warrior clan. How pitiful." "Go." Aiku cupped her fist and replied, "I am not humbling myself. To beg you, you have reached the highest realm, a true senior of the martial world. I am simply as a junior showing respect for your accomplishments." Hearing this, Gu Goryo burst into gleeful laughter again. "So even though you're a powerful warrior, I just spat on a girl. Is that what you find ironic? Go." Aiku smiled back. "Perhaps my words were inadequate and caused a misunderstanding, but I am only speaking my true feelings. And for that, please accept another cup." She maintained her composure, bowing gently and respectfully. Gu Goryo smirked in satisfaction, then threw his head back and laughed loudly, downing the cup of wine in his hand. He cupped his fist and said to Go Gian, in a conciliatory tone, a far cry from before, "I apologize for my rudeness earlier. So clan leader, please sheathe your sword." With that, he smiled and whispered a signal to Go Gian. "I did that to save you face. Clan leader, let's end it here." Go Aiku bowed her head without a word. Go Gian sighed and sheathed his sword as instructed. Gu Goryo slung his staff over his shoulder and left. Before he went, he laughed and said, "What a sharp and wonderful girl. If I were 50 years younger, I would have taken her. Ah, I almost forgot the most important thing. Since the Black Blade sect was wiped out, I can't receive their tribute. Returning empty-handed would ruin my reputation." "Go," Gian asked coldly. "What are you trying to say?" Gu Goryo replied in a mocking tone, "All right, I'll be direct. I don't care who wiped out the Black Blade sect, or the Zhao family. I just need to bring back the required amount. I showed you respect earlier, clan leader. Now you must show me respect." "Go," Gian gritted his teeth in anger. "Are you planning to collect tribute from clans belonging to the righteous faction?" Gu Goryo gave a sly, unpleasant smile. "That sounds so harsh." "This isn't tribute, it's a consolation fee." More sweat beaded on Go Gion's forehead. He asked, "So, are you going to demand this consolation fee from the Namgung clan?" Gu Goryo's expression was contemptuous. "The Namgung clan, don't be ridiculous. If I did that, I wouldn't get a single coin, and I'd end up getting killed by that old man. I heard the Tiger's Might clan made a lot of money recently. Is that right? Consider this a condolence payment for the poor souls of the Black Blade sect. Now that sounds much better, doesn't it?" Go Gian frowned and growled, "Fine, just give us some time." Hearing this, Gu Goryo slammed his staff hard on the floor, a powerful thud, as if to intimidate them. He warned, "Listen, time is a precious thing for everyone." At this point, Go Gian could only grit his teeth and endure. "If I anger the demon staff, the Tiger's Lair sect will be destroyed this very night. And even if I ask the Namgung clan for help, there's no guarantee they will. In the end, all I can do is—" Gu Goryo laid out his condition. "Bring me all the money." A moment later, a bag full of gold was brought before him. Gu Goryo's eyes lit up at the sight of so much money. He roared with laughter. "Go," Gian said sternly. "I will give you this money. So do not touch anyone from my clan." Gu Goryo, of course, agreed immediately. "I'm not a monster. I understand that. But for someone who's willingly giving me a consolation fee, you're radiating a terrifying amount of killing intent. Anyway, I accept." Then he tossed a gold piece toward Go Aiku. "I accept." Then he tossed a gold piece toward Go Aiku, saying, "That's my apology for spitting on you earlier." She only bowed her head in silence, her clenched fists trembling with rage, but there was nothing she could do. Putting on his hat, Gu Goryo waved his hand. "Well then, I'll take my leave. No need to see me out. The moon is bright enough for me to find my way." That night in the stables, a young man muttered, "Hey, did you hear? The escorts said that bastard was strong enough to kill everyone there by himself. We're lucky it could be resolved with money. Once you're dead, it's over." The other man shuddered and nodded in agreement. "It's scary just thinking about it." Suddenly, Useon appeared shouting, "Hey, where is he?" The two saw Useon's face drenched in sweat, yet in his hands he held a large bag of chicken legs. They asked in unison, "Big brother Seon, what's that in your hand?" The one with the headband's eyes lit up. "The party was ruined. I thought there'd be nothing left to eat." The other young man also drooled with desire. Of course, only our big brother would think of us. But Useon paid no attention to the two of them. He stomped his foot irritably. "Not you guys, I'm asking where Suji is," the young man said fearfully. "We don't know. We haven't seen him for a while." Useon lowered his head and softly called his name Suji. He recalled Gugoryo's words from earlier. Hey, Fatso, you should be grateful to that kid for the rest of your life. You were saved, thanks to him. Tears welled up in Useon's eyes. He cried out, Suji! My dear Suji, where are you? Gugoryo hooked the bag onto his spear. As he walked, he chuckled with satisfaction. Well, that's that. But suddenly his movement stopped. It turned out, Suji, with an overwhelming killing intent, was already waiting for him at the other end of the bridge. His eyes glowed just like a wild beast's. Gugoryo suddenly broke into a disdainful smile and said, I thought you were some kind of monster, but it turns out you're human. Aren't you that stable boy from before? Why are you following me? Is it because I insulted your lover? Faced with these insults, Suji just stared straight at him in silence. On the other side, Gugoryo continued. If you came to get revenge for the woman you love, then you're mistaken. It's true I spat in her face, but she didn't even fall for the trap. In other words, my insult was wasted, so there's no grudge to avenge. At this, Suji finally spoke. Perhaps because you're a half-baked imitation of a monk. You only speak meaningless nonsense. That's enough talk. As he spoke, he slowly stepped forward. Then he took a stance and lunged forward, his tone decisive. Hand over the money, now. Facing him, Gugoryo laughed loudly. It's been 45 years since I've heard someone dare say that. The last person who said that to me was the Demon King, the Betrayer Knight. And now you're the next one. He laughed as he swung his staff in response. Suji quickly dodged, but when he looked down, his hand was trembling uncontrollably. Just then, Gugoryo spoke up again. Nice spear. What's its name? Suji tilted his head slightly and answered coldly, It doesn't have one. Gugoryo spun the staff in his hand, looking at him with a sinister expression. Such an exquisite spear, what a waste. Actually, this thing used to be a spear, too. But ever since the blade broke, I've just used it as a staff. Still, since it was forged from black iron, it's very durable. It's a bit heavy, but that's its only flaw. If the spearhead were still intact, I would now be called the Demon Spear, not the Demon Staff. A true pity. But suddenly a tremor ran through him, causing him to freeze. Suji's voice rang out firmly at the same time. No matter how sturdy, in the end it's just a spear with a broken tip. It has become a wolf of the vagrant fighting style. But its fangs have been pulled out, just like you are now. Seeing the spearhead flying toward him, Gugoryo couldn't help but be terrified. He roared, Damn you, you scum! But the spearhead didn't stop, piercing right through his hat. Gugoryo was cut, and couldn't help but scream in shock, Ah! A sneak attack. In a one-on-one fight between men, how cowardly. He quickly got back into position, spinning the staff in his hand skillfully. He laughed, then immediately got into a throwing stance. This startled Suji slightly. But as soon as the staff was thrown, Suji had already jumped away. He grabbed onto the bridge's support rope, spun himself around, dodging the attack while approaching his opponent. In no time, he appeared right before his eyes. Then he took an attack stance again. Seeing this, Gugoryo roared, Now what iron caltrops? What a truly cowardly move. But these cheap tricks won't work on me. As he spoke, he slashed several times toward Suji. But in a flash, he had appeared right next to him, spitting a mouthful of saliva at him. Gugoryo blocked it and immediately grinned. You're more stubborn than I thought. Just because I spat on your lover, you're this angry? How naive? As he spoke, he slashed one more time toward Suji. But Suji put his hands down, flipped over and launched a kick at him. In a split second, one of his teeth was kicked out. But he quickly regained consciousness. But before he could do anything, he was hit with another kick. Seeing the skin burned by Suji's saliva, Gugoryo roared in terror, What is this? He wondered to himself, The saliva is burning my skin. Could it be the poison techniques of the Sichuan Tang clan? What in the world is this guy, my vision? But before he could recover, he took another kick. By the time he struggled to his feet, Suji was already in position, preparing to attack. By the time he saw him, Gugoryo's face was drenched in a cold sweat. Suji launched another attack, but he managed to jump up and dodge it. Then he slowly landed. His face was now stern again. He said, It seems I've underestimated the Tiger's Lair sect. I didn't expect a mere stable boy to be this strong. But as he looked at him, his mind was in turmoil. No, impossible. Someone like him could not have been trained by the Tiger's Lair sect. Moreover, he's completely different. This fighting style can't be called orthodox. His movements have no regard for forms or etiquette. His entire body is a weapon for killing. He reached up and tore his robe, gritting his teeth. I don't care if you're a demon, a ghost, or some fiend. Just come at me. As he spoke, an overwhelming aura began to form around him. He took a stance and roared, I will drag you to hell myself. Faced with these words, Suji just let out a bewildered, huh. Then he tightened his grip on the spear. He quickly got into a stance and growled, You talk too much. Both men were radiating killing intent. The wind blew, sending leaves scattering. They swept across the two men's serious faces. Immediately, they both stomped their feet. A spearhead and a staff both shot forward. In a flash, they clashed with a loud bam. The bridge seemed to bend from the force of their blows. But a moment later, there was dead silence. Only an arm was falling. Splash! The arm fell straight into the ravine. Suji held his position. As for Gugoryo, he was still smiling, but his words held a hint of bitterness. My arm, the price was heavy. But before he could finish his sentence, Suji cut him off. I won. Rewind a few minutes. Suji's spearhead and Gugoryo's staff rushed toward each other. Clang! The two weapons clashed. Neither man would give an inch, both using all their strength. But Gugoryo's staff was deflected. Suji's eyes immediately caught the movement. He tightened his grip and pressed the spear down. The spearhead shot straight toward Gugoryo. When the spearhead was right in front of him, Gugoryo immediately frowned. Ah, you can take my left arm. But in exchange, his staff did not yield, stabbing straight into Suji's left chest. Gugoryo grinned sinisterly. I will take your heart. Stabbed through the heart. Suji was clearly very surprised. He collapsed. Blood poured out like a waterfall. On the other side, Gugoryo stood tall and declared, I have won, but the price was too high. I can't believe a kid like that could actually threaten me. He's a child raised on the path of the demonic blade. How? But suddenly he coughed, and blood spurted out, which surprised him a little. My internal injuries are worse than I thought. This kid, I really can't let him live. I have to finish him right here. As he thought this, he raised his hand high, intending to deliver the final blow. But suddenly, his movement stopped. On the other side, Suji's body was radiating a terrifyingly angry aura. Gugoryo couldn't help but be shocked when he saw it. What is this? What the hell is this? What the hell is keeping you on your feet? Is it money, pride, the will to fight, or is it love? What is driving you? Suji's eyes glowed brightly. He whispered in reply, fear. Gugoryo couldn't help but be startled. What? Suji looked at him again with eyes as sharp as a blade. Do you know where humans go after they die? In a flash, he stood up straight, radiating an overwhelming presence. He seemed to be standing at the bottom of an abyss, using his power to drag Gugoryo down to the deepest level of hell. The old man reached up his hand, seeming to scream, Let's go there together. Back to the present, Suji continued. When you think that's what happens after you die, you will never allow yourself to die. But Gugoryo just chuckled. Are you having a hallucination? But in reality, he was terrified. He silently wondered, he's getting up because he's afraid of death. What in the world did he see? I'm dying to know, but I don't intend to die. I'm not going to die in a place like this. I'm going to die peacefully in my bed. When I'm a weak old man, as he thought, he slammed his staff hard towards Suji. But very quickly, he had jumped back and dodged. He clenched his teeth and raised his spear to attack. And of course, Gugoryo did the same. The two weapons were about to clash once more. Gugoryo's staff struck Suji's body, but his fingers were also sliced off. He clicked his tongue. He cut off 2 of my fingers. But you're done for. But just then, an arrow suddenly flew and lodged straight into his eye. He immediately backed away, roaring in pain. What the hell did you just spit out? It turned out that Suji had used his mouth to break a spike and spit it at him. He growled, You will die here today. Gugoryo squeezed his eyes shut, his face pale with fear. He wildly swung his attacks at Suji, roaring, Stay back. But when he saw that he wouldn't stop charging, he only grew more panicked. What is he? He should have been fatally wounded. How is he still able to charge? What the hell are you? He took a stance again and roared, Die, you monster! Seeing his staff hurtling towards him, Suji couldn't help but be surprised. And in an instant, it had pierced through him. Then it continued with its momentum whistling past. Seeing this, Gugoryo laughed like a madman, thinking to himself, I won. This is my victory. Then he took a stance again and shouted with a ferocious expression, Lie down and be good. I'll put you out of your misery. With just one blow. But unbelievably, Suji hadn't fallen yet and was even trying to stand firm. Gugoryo's face turned green with fear when he saw this. He still has the strength to move. I'm sure I crushed his head, huh? At this point, the spear was also broken. Gugoryo was still wondering, Since when? He took my blow. And broke my spear at the same time, he growled, trying to take me down with you. But you're the only one going to hell. At this, Gugoryo had turned and fled. But behind him, the sound of someone stepping on wood still echoed. Unbelievably, Suji's figure was still on the other side of the broken bridge, and then he immediately lunged, like the Grim Reaper coming to claim a soul. Gugoryo was so scared his face twisted. What is this pressure? Don't tell me that kid is still alive. Even if he is, he can't attack in this state. He must just be struggling uselessly before he dies. But he's someone who can't be measured by common sense. No way, impossible. As he thought this, he turned his head to look, only to see Suji's hand. It had almost reached him. From inside his sleeve, his weapon was unleashed. It shot straight at his opponent. The spearhead flew like an arrow, piercing straight through Gugoryo's head. Seeing this, he laughed like a madman. He silently recalled, so after all, he was human. And I thought he was a monster. He was pinned to the bridge plank. Before he lost consciousness, he was still whispering, "I thought you were human." A monster. No, so you are death. But at the same time, the attack was too powerful, causing the bridge to shake violently. It immediately snapped, breaking in two. Suji, due to inertia, fell freely through the air. Gugoryo's body was pinned to the end of the bridge, blood flowing like a waterfall. Luckily, the rope in his hand caught on something above. Suji struggled to hold on with his left hand. Pain from all over his body tortured him every second. "I'm too messed up." He clutched his chest, his head throbbing. "My internal organs are torn to shreds." Then he looked down at his two dangling legs. "My legs are probably broken too. But as long as I'm not dead, I can still recover." As he spoke, his entire body was immediately enveloped by a bright red demonic aura. His eyes lit up. The demon inside began to emerge. It was the cursed blood seal magic, the absolute demon art. He closed his eyes to concentrate, recalling the blood demon's words. Kokofu also said, the reason he could continue to seek revenge, despite his shattered body, was thanks to the extraordinary healing power of the absolute demon art. Thanks to that, my life was also saved. Should I be grateful for it? However, before he could rejoice, there was a sudden movement from above. A bright stream of power, from an unknown source, shone directly onto Gugoryo's motionless body. He broke free from the spear and began to lunge toward him. Both his eyes were completely white. Parts of his body were engulfed in flames. Flesh and blood mingled with the red fire. Seeing him charge, Suji couldn't help but panic. "Don't mess with me." In the end, he was still struck by the man and fell down the cliffside. Rocks and dirt cascaded down from above like a waterfall, pinning the upper half of his body. Demonic energy began to swirl around Suji. Hoarse voices started to echo in his ears. "Just die already. So pathetic. Die, be buried alive, buried alive, buried alive, buried alive." Then the demonic spirits heard a sound. Their attention was immediately drawn and they turned their heads. Huh! In front of him, the soul of Goryo, filled with resentment, held its weapon and slowly approached. Suji had now regained consciousness. He lifted his head to look at what had appeared before him. The spirit was filled with bitter resentment, its dark, vengeful aura soaring to the heavens. He faintly moved his lips, calling out, "Demonic staff, Gogoryo." Though the vengeful spirit heard the call, it still moved swiftly, lunging towards him. Suji struggled to his feet. Once again, he called out, "Demonic staff, Gogoryo." The vengeful spirit grew even angrier, gritting its teeth. Its hand tightened on the staff and swung it down. Suji was now standing completely firm. His entire body was enveloped in a stream of red demonic energy. "Demonic staff, Gogoryo." As he finished speaking, his whole body began to radiate demonic energy in all directions. The staff, in the vengeful spirit's hand, froze in midair. The vengeful spirit began to scream in agony. Then its entire being turned into a wisp of energy, gradually dissipating into the air, and was finally absorbed back into Suji's body. Once it was done, he let out a sigh of relief. He summoned the vengeful spirit from the palm of his hand, a look of fascination on his face. A cursed vengeful spirit that has reached the peak of its power. It seems taming it will take quite some time. However, this thing will be the elixir. That helps me advance from the compression stage to the refinement stage. With that said, he reabsorbed the vengeful spirit into his body. Time to go back. But as soon as he took a step, an excruciating pain shot up from his leg, making him frown instantly. "Damn it, my leg!" Suji quickly suppressed the pain and swung, the rope in his hand, telling himself, "Once I get back, the first thing is to focus on recovery. I'll think about opening the Ren and Du meridians later." Suji tied the rope to the saber on the ground, intending to pull it up, but he failed and sighed helplessly. This thing can't even be used as a walking stick. Just then his gaze was immediately drawn by Gogoryo's long staff. "What's that?" He walked over and picked up the staff, but to his surprise, he had to use considerable strength just to lift it. So heavy, Suji thought. If this had been a complete spear, I would have been the one who died. With that thought, he coldly uttered another sentence. So as not to become a toothless dog like this thing, I must forge my spear to be even sharper. The streets grew increasingly gloomy at night. The damp rain only added a few more degrees of horror to the scene. With a cloth bag tied to one end of the staff and the other end propped on the ground, he heavily dragged his broken leg forward. But he hadn't taken more than a few steps before he almost collapsed in pain again. Even after absorbing the power of the ultimate demon, I still haven't fully recovered. Suji took a few seconds for the pain to subside. Since returning to the past, this is the first time I've poured all my strength into a single battle. He panted, taking a deep breath. So tired. Every drop of rain that fell felt like a needle piercing his skin. The staff and the bag on his shoulder felt unusually heavy. He began to give up, his heavy eyelids slowly closing. Just close my eyes for a little while. Just rest for a moment. Suddenly, at that moment, a familiar voice appeared in his mind. I know you have your reasons, so I can't say much. The image of Go-Aigu smiling and holding out her hand appeared before him. But as long as you're in the Tiger's Lair sect, we are still family. How astonished he had been at that moment. How surprised. Ah, family, a place where I can rest easy. The more Suji remembered, the more a pained smile unconsciously formed on his lips. And so he began to drag his broken legs forward again ever so slowly. A place like that doesn't suit me at all. Just then night fell upon the Tiger's Lair sect. In a small room, a light was still on. Go. Aigu was busy at her desk, reading intently, unable to hold back a sigh. She thought to herself, I knew it. The martial world truly is. A place where the strong survive. The good are not allowed to be weak. A world where only the strong can uphold their principles and beliefs to the very end. She looked at the words in the book and couldn't help but frown. Father passed that on. And so have I. The book read Martial Arts Alliance, Sky Ascending Academy. Sky Ascending Academy Acceptance Letter. The Sky Ascending Academy, an academy under the Martial Arts Alliance, where youths aged 16 to 18 are recruited and trained to become the talents who will lead the martial world. Reading this, she clutched her head and gave a bitter laugh. I took the exam in secret and I actually passed. She slowly lowered her hand and then slammed it on the table. I was planning to use the experience from graduating to support the sect. But the problem is the tuition is too high. If only I had that kind of money. But as soon as she thought this, she shook her head, pulling herself out of that line of thought. No. Just saving the people of the Tiger's Lair sect was enough. I can't have any regrets. Oh, Aigu sighed and walked over to open the window. Should I go out? For some fresh air. She poked her head out, cheerful and full of anticipation. Maybe that'll make me feel a little better. But unexpectedly, life isn't always a dream. Just a short while after leading her horse outside, it suddenly started to pour rain. She frowned in frustration. Comfortable? What a joke. She angrily yelled at the sky. Why is even the weather torturing me? This is so unfair. The horse beside her also got agitated and let out a long whinny. Then it playfully shook its coat, splashing rainwater onto her face. Oh. Aigu's scowl deepened as she cursed resentfully. What the? Are you the only one happy, Bong? I'm about to go crazy here. Suddenly at that moment, a strange sound from behind made her turn her head. Her eyes immediately became somewhat wary. She gripped the horse's reins tightly. What's that sound? Let's go check it out, Bong. After walking a short distance, she turned pale with horror. Is this blood? Flicker of panic appeared in her eyes. Both his eyes were completely white. Parts of his body were engulfed in flames. Flesh and blood mingled with the red fire. Seeing him charge, Suji couldn't help but panic. Don't mess with me. In the end, he was still struck by the man and fell down the cliffside. Rocks and dirt cascaded down from above like a waterfall, pinning the upper half of his body. Demonic energy began to swirl around Suji. Hoarse voices started to echo in his ears. Just die already. So pathetic. Die, be buried alive, buried alive. Buried alive, buried alive. Then the demonic spirits heard a sound. Their attention was immediately drawn and they turned their heads. Huh! In front of him, the soul of Goryo, filled with resentment, held its weapon and slowly approached. Suji had now regained consciousness. He lifted his head to look at what had appeared before him. The spirit was filled with bitter resentment, its dark, vengeful aura soaring to the heavens. He faintly moved his lips, calling out, Demonic Staff Goryo. Though the vengeful spirit heard the call, it still moved swiftly, lunging towards him. Suji struggled to his feet. Once again, he called out, Demonic Staff Goryo. The vengeful spirit grew even angrier, gritting its teeth. Its hand tightened on the staff and swung it down. Suji was now standing completely firm. His entire body was enveloped in a stream of red demonic energy. Demonic Staff Goryo. As he finished speaking, his whole body began to radiate demonic energy in all directions. The staff in the vengeful spirit's hand froze in midair. The vengeful spirit began to scream in agony. Then its entire being turned into a wisp of energy, gradually dissipating into the air, and was finally absorbed back into Suji's body. Once it was done, he let out a sigh of relief. He summoned the vengeful spirit from the palm of his hand, a look of fascination on his face. A cursed, vengeful spirit that has reached this peak of its power. It seems taming it will take quite some time. However, this thing will be the elixir. That helps me advance from the compression stage to the refinement stage. With that said, he reabsorbed the vengeful spirit into his body. Time to go back. But as soon as he took a step, an excruciating pain shot up from his leg, making him frown instantly. Damn it, my leg! Suji quickly suppressed the pain and swung, the rope in his hand, telling himself, once I get back, the first thing is to focus on recovery. I'll think about opening the Ren and do meridians later. Suji tied the rope to the saber on the ground, intending to pull it up, but he failed and sighed helplessly. This thing can't even be used as a walking stick. Just then, his gaze was immediately drawn by Go-Goryo's long staff. What's that? He walked over and picked up the staff, but to his surprise, he had to use considerable strength just to lift it. So heavy, Suji thought. If this had been a complete spear, I would have been the one who died. With that thought, he coldly uttered another sentence. So as not to become a toothless dog like this thing, I must forge my spear to be even sharper. The streets grew increasingly gloomy at night. The damp rain only added a few more degrees of horror to the scene. With a cloth bag tied to one end of the staff and the other end propped on the ground, he heavily dragged his broken leg forward. But he hadn't taken more than a few steps before he almost collapsed in pain again. Even after absorbing the power of the ultimate demon, I still haven't fully recovered. Suji took a few seconds for the pain to subside since returning to the past. This is the first time I've poured all my strength into a single battle. He panted, taking a deep breath. So tired. Every drop of rain that fell felt like a needle piercing his skin. The staff and the bag on his shoulder felt unusually heavy. He began to give up, his heavy eyelids slowly closing. Just close my eyes for a little while. Just rest for a moment. Suddenly, at that moment, a familiar voice appeared in his mind. I know you have your reasons, so I can't say much. The image of Go-Aigu smiling and holding out her hand appeared before him. But as long as you're in the Tiger's Lair sect, we are still family. How astonished he had been at that moment. How surprised. Ah, family, the place where I can rest easy. The more Suji remembered, the more a pained smile unconsciously formed on his lips. And so he began to drag his broken legs forward again ever so slowly. A place like that doesn't suit me at all. Just then, night fell upon the Tiger's Lair sect. In a small room, a light was still on. Go-Aigu was busy at her desk, reading intently, unable to hold back a sigh. She thought to herself, I knew it. The martial world truly is a place where the strong survive. The good are not allowed to be weak. A world where only the strong can uphold their principles and beliefs to the very end. She looked at the words in the book and couldn't help but frown. Father passed that on, and so have I. The book read Martial Arts Alliance, Sky Ascending Academy. Sky Ascending Academy Acceptance Letter. The Sky Ascending Academy. An academy under the Martial Arts Alliance, where youths aged 16 to 18 are recruited and trained to become the talents who will lead the martial world. Reading this, she clutched her head and gave a bitter laugh. I took the exam in secret and I actually passed. She slowly lowered her hand and then slammed it on the table. I was planning to use the experience from graduating to support the sect. But the problem is the tuition is too high. If only I had that kind of money. But as soon as she thought this, she shook her head, pulling herself out of that line of thought. No, just saving the people of the Tiger's Lair sect was enough. I can't have any regrets. Go-Aigu sighed and walked over to open the window. Should I go out? For some fresh air? She poked her head out, cheerful and full of anticipation. Maybe that'll make me feel a little better. But unexpectedly, life isn't always a dream. Just a short while after leading her horse outside, it suddenly started to pour rain. She frowned in frustration. Comfortable, what a joke. She angrily yelled at the sky. Why is even the weather torturing me? This is so unfair. The horse beside her also got agitated and let out a long whinny. Then it playfully shook its coat, splashing rainwater onto her face. Go! Aigu's scowl deepened as she cursed resentfully. What the? Are you the only one, Happy Bong? I'm about to go crazy here. Suddenly at that moment, a strange sound from behind made her turn her head. Her eyes immediately became somewhat wary. She gripped the horse's reins tightly. What's that sound? Let's go check it out, Bong. After walking a short distance, she turned pale with horror. Is this blood? A flicker of panic appeared in her eyes. This much? Who in the world? Ahead of her, Suji was still holding the staff, his entire body radiating a pitch-black demonic energy, still struggling to heal his wounds. Seeing the body filled with demonic energy before her, she instantly panicked. Are you a man or a ghost? Suji began to speak in a cold tone, just appeared like that, but she quickly cut him off. Definitely a ghost. But in reality, he wasn't releasing any demonic energy. He still had the appearance of a harmless, naive young man. Suji turned to leave in the opposite direction. It was only then that Go-Aigu realized he's human. She hurriedly called out, Hey! Wait! Then she threw a small pouch towards him, saying loudly, This is healing medicine. It's not expensive, but use it if you need to. I don't know what happened, and I can't just get involved in the martial world's feuds, but at the very least, I can't ignore someone in trouble, right in front of me. Her voice remained firm, ringing out in the heavy rain. If If you don't want it, if you don't need it, just throw it away and go. Suji looked at the medicine pouch and smiled faintly. Then he gently picked it up. He lowered his staff and took the cloth bag hanging from its end. Then he threw it towards her. Seeing the pouch emanating a thick black aura, he couldn't help but dodge it. What is it I just... Suji turned his head, his voice cold, as he replied, "Put it on the horse." Then he decisively walked away. Go-Aigu ran forward, looking doubtfully at the cloth bag on the ground. "Hey, wait, what's in that sack?" She looked at the bag's blood-stained exterior, and fear welled up inside her. Judging by the size and the smell of blood, don't tell me it's a head. The more she thought, the darker her expression became. If that's true, I have to check and report it to the authorities. But after thinking it over, she still reached out her hand to check. She squeezed her eyes shut tense until the bag opened. Only then did she dare to peek. Unexpectedly, there was nothing scary in the bag, like she had imagined. Instead, it emitted a dazzling golden light. This is... Inside, it was filled with gold bars shining as bright as day. She immediately realized, this is the Tiger's Lair sect's funds, stolen by those corrupt subordinates. Stunned, she began to look frantically in his direction, but by now he was already out of sight, having turned into an alley. She immediately chased after him, calling out, "Hey, wait a minute! How did you get this?" But just as she was about to question him, she was struck speechless with astonishment. On the ground, aside from a large pool of blood and a lingering trace of demonic energy, the person was nowhere to be found. On the other side, Suji used all his strength to leap up, avoiding a confrontation with Go-Aigu. But because his body was already battered, he collapsed to the ground exhausted after jumping over a few roofs. He coughed dryly a few times, then quickly propped himself up on his knees. He sensed a strange presence nearby. Someone's here. Instinct took over. He immediately reached for the weapon at his waist. Who would come at this hour? The person behind him saw him and immediately called out excitedly, "Huh, Suji?" Suji was momentarily startled and annoyed. He glanced at the other person. "It's him again. I don't have the strength to put up with your antics today." Wuxian rushed over, yelling loudly, "Where have you been all this time? You're such a pain." Then, he looked at him and couldn't help but sigh in complaint. Wuxian remained very cheerful and enthusiastically clung to him. His eyes glistened with tears. "My benefactor, I've been looking all over for you. The meat and rice cakes I saved for you have all gone cold." Suji looked even more disgusted, wanting to avoid him but unable to. This is a different kind of annoying. Wuxian looked at the other's pathetic state, glancing him up and down with pity. "Huh, hey, what happened to you? Where did you get beaten up? Which bastards dared to do this to my brother? I don't know what gang it was, but this can't be overlooked." Suji, unable to stand it any longer, angrily pushed him away. "Shut up and bring me the ingredients I'm about to name. Get them from Captain Su." Wuxian reluctantly stammered, okay." Then he immediately rattled off a series of ingredients: poria, rock jasmine resin, fenugreek seed, flaxseed, blatilla longan. Wuxian panicked, hastily writing it down, sweating profusely. "Wait, that's too much. Where am I going to get all that right now?" Suji sat down heavily on a nearby haystack, replying coldly, "I told you get it from Captain Su." Wuxian asked foolishly, "Captain Su? You mean Captain Su-Ok of the Roaring Tiger Escort Agency, huh?" But as soon as he realized who was being mentioned, Wuxian immediately jumped up and screamed, "Are you crazy? You want me to ask her for that stuff?" Unexpectedly, Suji just said dryly, "You just have to say my assistant sent you. She'll give it to you." Wuxian angrily clenched his fists, but he couldn't do anything to the person next to him. "Damn it, this is a pain. I don't even dare to mess with her." After some back and forth, he finally gave in reluctantly, turning to leave. "Fine. After all, it's a request from my benefactor. Whatever worst case is, I get called a madman once. What should I say when I get there?" Suji looked straight ahead, his voice steady and emphatic. "Say the aide sent you. She will understand." Although Wuxian didn't understand a thing, he still turned and left. Maybe saying the stable boy sent me would be easier to say. On the other side, Suji was concentrating on cultivating his demonic arts to heal his wounds. The demonic energy flowed ever more powerfully. The vengeful spirit flew out roaring fiercely. "Currently, my demonic's name is at the 10th compression stage. And what's needed to open this gate?" Suddenly, a face appeared before his eyes, a giant demon that looked more like a strange gate. Suji looked up at it, thinking, is to open the Ren and Du meridians, drain all the blood from the body and replace it with an elixir. Very dangerous, but my acupuncture points were already fully opened. During the battle with the tyrant demon king, did I perhaps drain too much blood then? As for the elixir, it's still lacking. With that thought, he looked back at Gogoryo's staff. He controlled his demonic energy to surround it. The vengeful spirit enveloped the staff, growling. His eyes were like steel as he looked at it. "I will replace it with the demonic name of the tyrant demon king." The demon king was momentarily stunned. His hand immediately clenched in midair. Because of that, the Demon King enveloping the staff vanished. At that moment, Suji's entire body was encased in a dense stream of demonic energy. A moment later, he regulated his breathing, closed his eyes, and centered himself. Just then, Wu Xian came running from the distance carrying a large sack. "Suji, you..." He looked at him from afar, remembering Captain Su's reaction earlier. "Who are you? What?" "You said he's injured." "I'm leaving." "No. He must have some plan in mind. If you need anything, come find me immediately." He asked suspiciously, "Do you two know each other?" Suji, somewhat annoyed, grabbed the large sack, shouting, "Quiet!" Wu Xian didn't press the matter, stammering a reply. "Huh, ah." Then Suji slowly carried the medicine bag into the house. He didn't forget to instruct, "Don't let anyone enter this room until I come out. If anything happens, tell Captain Su." The more Wu Xian listened, the more confused he became, staring blankly at his retreating back. During this time, Suji began to cultivate his demonic arts, the energy of the demonic arts. He thought to himself, if I surpass the compression stage and advance to the refinement stage, no one will recognize this as demonic arts anymore. Kokofu, the founder of the demonic name, except for him. Where is he now? What is he doing? Is he still being hunted by the Martial Arts Alliance and the Demonic Alliance? Or is he still ruling the heavenly demon cult as its rightful divine ruler? Rightly so. Is he looking for disciples like me and Goaigu? In the space of demonic energy, he began to walk. The scene before him appeared. Torrential rain fell on the encampment. The people around were all fiercely fighting. He continued to walk calmly towards a shrine. His footsteps were slow. Before his eyes, he suddenly saw the red door once again. Suji reached out to push the door. Suddenly, a figure from behind spoke. "Are you leaving?" While Suji was still confused about what was happening, Go-Aigu threw a strange object at him. "Really?" He caught it and looked at her foolishly. Then she said cheerfully, "Goodbye, brother." Suji stood before the slowly opening door and smiled. "That's right, be well, brother." Immediately after, a flash of light struck his forehead, jolting him awake. Suji lay in a thick pile of straw, bewildered. "Huh? Did I succeed?" At this moment, Suji's entire body was completely healed. His legs had also returned to normal. He slowly sat up and looked outside. He had mistakenly intended to praise. It seems that fat guy guarded the door pretty well. But as soon as he opened the door and stepped out, he quickly swallowed his words. "Huh!" Wu Xian was sprawled out in front of the door, sleeping without a care in the world. It wasn't until his nose caught a strange foul smell that he panicked and scrambled to his feet. "Suji, are you okay? What's that smell?" That night, Suji began to move using his lightness skill, the first stage of refinement, the stage of peak maturity that the other sects talk about. Now that all preparations are complete, is it time for the next stage? The Black Jiao clan, the third target for revenge after the Humpback clan, the governor of Anhui province and the pinnacle of the 5 great families, the Nangong family. Meanwhile, at the Guardian sect, Sagan said in a low voice, "The Nangong family has just sent an invitation to Korgan." He sipped his tea and replied slowly, "They're holding their grand banquet a little earlier than usual this year." Hearing this, she asked, "A grand banquet? Why would they invite us, a small sect, to a gathering of the major Orthodox sects in Anhui?" Sagan sighed somewhat melancholically. "The family represented by Goryon has disappeared. It seems they need a replacement." Korgan wasn't very happy either, saying worriedly, "Even though we're innocent, the way they look at us won't be friendly." Sagan put her teacup back on the table and replied, "That's for sure. In the martial world, only strength gives you a voice. If you're weak, you have to endure it no matter how unjust it is. Moreover, before the great mountain that is the Nangong family, we are just..." She heard this and immediately spoke up to reassure him. "Don't worry too much. Have you heard the news? The precious young lady of the Nangong family, the one who studied at the Sky Ascending Academy, is about to return." Korgan sighed. "Ah, you're talking about Sword Blossom, Lady Nangong Yao." Sagan then smiled lightly in agreement. "That's right. The rumor among the wives is that the purpose of this banquet is to show off their daughter, a chance to introduce her to everyone, and to brag about all sorts of things." Korgan laughed cheerfully and brought the teacup to his lips. "If that's really the case, then I'm happy. I could listen to a father brag about his daughter all day. Actually, my daughter Goaigu is certainly no less impressive than Lady Nangong." Sagan looked at him confused and doubtful.